Shoot. Good morning, everybody out there. This is really funny. You saw my little trying to make a couple moves there with the graphic. Well, that's kind of interesting. Before I get into that, good morning and welcome to Mornings with Nate. And I thank you for joining me this morning. I thank all of you who are up at 6 a.m. on MLK Day. Many of you did not have to work. And so I'm very thankful that you spend this time with me. This is a day that we're also going to be doing a second broadcast. We're going to be doing a special MLK from 12 to 3. I've got some guests who are going to come in and be a part of the show. And I'm really looking forward to having those conversations and reflections on what MLK Day means, how it's evolved, those people who have actually met MLK to kind of reflect on him as a person. So I invite you to join me from 12 to 3 later today. This morning, we're going to talk about a number of different things. This is our second week. And I'm really happy to kind of be ready to go with you this morning. The first week, when you kind of get out there, you're somewhat experimenting because the nature of the show, what I'm hoping to accomplish by doing this show to interact with me. So, as I see things happening, already, wow. I see my friend Earl, who is up this morning already. Well, thank you, Mr. Earl. Thank you for getting up and kind of joining us this morning. He always reminds me of running my graphic. People may not know me, know who I am. So actually, I've got a series of graphics I prepared this morning. I'm going to be running in and out of the show. Again, our second week evolution. But the whole nature of what we're hoping to do with the show is to interact with you, just like Mr. Earl, who has come on and just given me a nice reaction that I see in the comment section, just to let me know that he is there and he's watching. I appreciate that. And we like to get more comments. We like to also, most importantly, what we want to do is to get you to go over to Facebook, to the We at 123, just one word all together, because some of you are seeing me via the We, and a lot of you, though, are seeing me through other means. We have the ability to broadcast and other Facebook pages and all that kind of stuff. And so, and which I'm going to talk a little bit about because we're evolving that as well. But the We is where a lot of different things happen. Although you'll see me on those Facebook pages, I'm hoping that you'll be able to come over to the We and to follow us there. And because it's not just me, we have other shows that broadcast via the We. We've got, as I mentioned, the Christmas show. Christmas, boy, I tell you, I'm just Christmas. We got the MLK coming from 12 to 3. And each hour I've got a different guest. And then we'll be launching later this week, Chapman Means Business. And many of you know me from my business background and taking companies public and doing other things. So I want to spend some time just talking about that. Each day, I guess I get asked at least 2 or 3 times my thoughts on Bitcoin and whether people ought to invest. And I'm happy to talk about that. So we'll be launching Chapman Means Business in addition to other content that we want you to see. So if you'd come over, if you're not there already, to Facebook at the We 123, you'll and follow us there, and also like us and share us. You can share us from other pages, or you share us from there because a lot of other content is coming in under the We. So this morning, I wanted to touch on a number of things. First, I'm broadcasting from Baltimore, Maryland, and I know I have some Florida friends, California friends that are out there, and you guys don't appreciate just how cold it is up here on the East Coast. I guess when I got to the car this morning, it was 15 degrees in the car. So I was at that in-between point. When I got in the car, Of course, I'm always, even though I get up at 3 a.m, to get in here, I'm still always a little bit struggling for time to get here, get everything up and rolling and get started, get into the studio. And there was a little ice on my windshield. And so it's always that question of, oh man, do I want to grab the old scraper and start working on my windshield? Or maybe if I put the defroster on it and drive slowly, it'll kind of melt and then I'm okay. Well, I elected to do the latter. Yeah, I didn't want to get out there, I got time issues in the morning. And so, I just elected to let the defroster work for me, just kind of drive slowly down the road until I got to the Beltway. And by the time I got to the Beltway, it was completely clear. Now, those of you down in Florida and my friends in California in the southern part of the country, down in Alabama, Mississippi, and so on, you probably can't appreciate that. But that has been life up here in the Northeast. And it seems like we've had our share of strange things happening, strange weather events, like the mudstorms that are occurring in California, which have just simply been terrible. The number of people that have been killed due to those mudstorms, it is just terrible. I mean, I think the number is, 20 that have been killed in those mudstorms. And to just kind of imagine it, what it must be like. And I've seen so many very, very tragic pictures. People in those California mudstorms, so a number of events. I mean, what we're going through in the cold is kind of lightweight, compared to what happened in California. But also, I just want to make sure that I, continue in no order, really, because, I'm talking from 6 to 9, but I'm certainly hoping that I'm not going to be here talking by myself. I'm hoping that I can inspire some of you to go to the page, the Facebook page, where I posted the link to this show. And if you click on that link, then you will come live. You will appear in what's called my guest room here on the laptop. And then I'll be able to bring you in and we can talk, because the format of this show is two-way talk. We may intersperse some news events to get the thing rolling here and hopefully to inspire some of you to join me, because I'd love to hear what's happening. Many of you have businesses I'd like to hear about, or other efforts, other things that are going on. And that's really what we want to do. We want to bring those stories out because you really are the news. I mean, there are people, I used to start today, I'd watch Chris Cuomo on CNN and I'd watch, Morning Joe, and they're all fine and good. But, kind of repeating things all the time. And I'm hopeful that we won't have to do that. I certainly have a list of news stories that I thought were interesting that I'm going to bring up and talk about. But I'm also hopeful that at some point that you will come on and, oh, look, Donnie Glover has joined us and shared our video. Donnie Glover, as I mentioned, he has his own show here on The We. And also he has his own show outside of The We. But the Donnie Glover show comes on Tuesdays at 10 o'clock. And Donnie is, and also I believe Donnie's going to be a guest on a new show that's going to launch on Thursday at 7, dealing with cultural consciousness. I think he's the first guest of Derek Burnett, who is launching a show, a half-hour show, to talk a little bit about those cultural issues. And I'm sure that we'll learn a lot because both of them are great historians of cultural issues. So thank you, Donnie, for coming in and appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you actually later today. I guess I'll see you when you come by here later today at 2 o'clock, and we'll chew the fat on MLK Day. Donnie is one of the guests who is going to be here chewing the fat. And I shouldn't say chewing the fat, talking about issues. Talking about issues and talking about things as relates to MLK and reacting again to things in general, because we'll put out that show's link, and that any of you who are interested, and I'm hoping that a lot of people will be interested, will click on that link and then you can join us. So I'm very thankful that, we have this opportunity to do this show on MLK Day. Some of you, I guess, were wondering whether or not our show would launch. But if you watch this Friday, you knew I would be here and kind of launching on MLK Day and doing the special as well. Because one of the things that we're looking to accomplish, in addition to the kind of the two-way talk type of thing, is to get more people involved in doing these live shows. Facebook Live is a fantastic vehicle of getting information out and meeting people and so on. But so is YouTube Live, Periscope, and Instagram and so on. And we're able to launch on various platforms. And we like to show people how to do that. And I thought about that, one of the things that we can do is to kind of help you with the setup and produce some of the shows to help people. And if you're interested in that, and I'm going to be talking about that a lot, let me put up my email address. And if you are interested in working with us and getting some content out there, either on our We network, or if you're interested in just simply getting your own thing started, the whole technological infrastructure of what's necessary to do this on the level that we're trying to do it is something that we'd like to work with you. So we're looking to build content ourselves. We're looking to help people who have an idea or following and would like to send a message, this kind of live message in a professional environment out to that following. We'd like to help you. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that. That's my email, Nate@thewe.world. Now, not .com, .world. You see the map behind me? That's kind of symbolic of what we're looking at. And we're looking at kind of a worldview, mainly because I have friends all over the world. And speaking of which, I'm hoping that some of my friends will chime in from different parts of the globe. I know we've got some people later in this week who will be coming in from different parts of the globe, from South America, from Africa, and so on, that we've connected to that are my friends. And I'm looking for different points of view. I was talking the other day, just not to harp too much on the MLK thing before it's time, but I was talking to one of my Pakistani friends the other day, and I was asking him what his view was of Martin Luther King. And to be honest, he didn't have one. Although, he's been in the country for quite some time, he understands that, Martin Luther King exists. He didn't have one. And it was kind of interesting to me, and the views that people have on various issues. But the only way we can find out about it is if we all talk and if we all kind of come together and we get some understanding with each other, about what's important and how we can mutually respect one another. For instance, I was talking to the same Pakistani friend, and he says to me, he says, Nate, the best way to learn Urdu, which is the language, Urdu, probably mispronouncing that, Urdu, something like that. And he said, is to learn the curse words. And I'm thinking, that's not quite my style. I don't really curse much in the English language. Why want to learn Pakistani curse words? And he said, well, that's one of the best ways to learn the language. I said, well, maybe I need to find Urdu Made Simple, a book on it. Something and read it. That's how I kind of normally learn things. But, we were talking about different fundamental things. I said, well, speaking of curses, what would be an insult in your language and to Pakistanis? And he said, well, an insult to me would be if you called me a dog. So, a dog is like one of the worst things you can call a Pakistani. And I said, really? That's interesting, because as African Americans, we call each other dogs all the time. What's up, dog? How you doing, dog? How's it hanging, dog? We do that all the time. So it's not really, if you said that to me, if a Pakistani comes up to me and says, hey, dog, I would not be insulted, because I would think you're just kind of speaking in the slang of, the American, maybe an African-American way to go. But if I reversed it and I said, hey, dog, to him, he said, well, Nate, that's fighting words. And over if in Pakistani, you might get killed behind calling somebody a dog. He'd have to respond to it. Well, I didn't know that. Well, the way that you get to learn people, and of course, I'm not do that because I'm not trying to, get into a fight over something minor, but the way you do that is that you talk to people. You talk to people outside your culture. You kind of share things and you grow. And I love to do that. And that's why that, one of the reasons that I evolved into the show. And the whole issue of being able just to talk to people, because as my friends know, I'll just strike up random conversations with people, and which I talk a lot about, that I still do all the time, because I just enjoy people. I'm a lover of people. Yeah, which is why I'm not afraid of taking these live questions and bringing you on even when I don't know you, because I want to meet you. I want you to be a part. And even more, if I've got some expertise, I'd like to help you. So I want you to go to that place that I mentioned, and I'll bring it up here once again. I want you to, if you're not there already, I want you to go to Facebook, search in there, the We 123. I'm pointing over here because I always, you know how it is. You see your monitor and you kind of look at it. But, I'm surrounded by actual, images. So, but if you go over there to the We 123 and click on that, then boom, you'll go right into my guest room here. And then I'll bring you on the show and we'll kind of talk about things in general. I didn't watch much football this year, but every once in a while when I was flipping the channels, I did see a little bit of the playoffs this weekend, kind of shift the sports a little bit. And I saw the Steelers, which is an East Coast team, get whooped by the Jacksonville Jaguars. For some of you guys who might be interested in women that might be interested in that. I was kind of surprised, to be honest. I knew Jacksonville was a tough team. And after all, they beat the Ravens in Baltimore, where I'm broadcasting from. But wow, they sure showed something against the Steelers. And I'm thinking, I don't know if I'm picking them because they go up next against the Patriots. And the Patriots are looking like world killers. But, as usual, I don't know if I was a betting man, and occasionally I am. But I'm not in Vegas. But if I was a betting man on this, I don't know. I might have to think about Jacksonville, against the Patriots. Folks might think I'm out of my mind. If you do, go to the We Facebook. You see, I keep pointing over there as though you can see what I'm pointing at. But go to Facebook at the We 123, which is right underneath my name. And you will be able to interact with me, and I'm hoping that you will. And if you've got some views on Jacksonville or the Patriots or any of that, love to talk to you about it. I also caught a little bit of that New Orleans game. New Orleans was playing the Minnesota Vikings, and it looked like the Minnesota Vikings were going to put a stomping on them. I think the New Orleans went down by 3 touchdowns and then came back to go ahead. And then it was like back and forth. And then it was this throw to this wide receiver from the University of Maryland, okay, who plays for Minnesota. And he went on to score the touchdown, but he shouldn't have, because he should have been tackled and the game was over. But the guy, I just, when I saw it, I couldn't believe it. I could have tackled the guy, but the guy like put his head down, like jumped. So I can't even explain it. He just cold missed it in a way that was incredible. He could have just held the guy's shirt, for a few seconds and the game would have been over. So I thought that was a pretty exciting game. And again, I got it up there. Facebook, the We 123, for those brave souls who are out there, who can come live on the show and we can do two-way talk. There's so many of my friends who back in the day, we've got Be More News again, sharing some things that are popped up here on my Facebook, because I really, I'm hitting it all on all cylinders. I get my Facebook page right here on my phone, and I get my information via the, and look at that. Miss Johnson, I see you had posted on Facebook. And I'm glad you're one of my new friends, and glad that you're out there. And I hope this means that you're watching. So it says here, some interesting comments, and I'm glad that you are sharing that. So let's see what we have here. You've got my friend. Actually, I think I'm going to. I'll just take this back and forth. Because it says here I got a couple reactions, and I want to make sure that I get you guys up here and rolling. Oh, boy. Okay. These are just kind of thumbs up likes. No real comments yet. And so I'm going to put this back on there so you guys can see how we make it happen here. Controlling the graphics back and forth. So my hope is that I can get some of you brave souls to kind of click on that link on the We 123 and join me this morning as we talk about, various issues, and we kind of discuss just what's happening with you and my thoughts on various things. Because I can talk for 90 minutes when I'm really not 90 minutes. It's 3 hours. I can do that. I showed you last week, but yeah, my preference is some of you guys and women who are out there, if you just want to click in. Now, mind you, there are some rules on clicking in. As I've said, you cannot, come on and give me the finger. So if I look over my guest room and you're giving me the finger right from the jump, you're not going to make it on live. Or if you're showing me some pornography or anything like that, I may keep you in the guest room for a little while, but I won't. No, I'm just joking. But I certainly won't be bringing you on live. We're not trying to do that kind of show. So we're hopeful that you'll be able to click on that link and join me, and we can kind of go into the two-way talk kind of format that we're looking to do this early morning, which. We have some news to talk about, and certainly I have a list of news items that you'll hear me refer to from time to time, notwithstanding little personal stories that I'll share with you of things that are kind of happening that I kind of think are interesting. Like I had mentioned before, this whole issue of wanting to get more of you out there. The setup that we have here and how to do this live show presentation is not easy. Yeah, if you don't have a tech background. Now, true enough, you can just go to Facebook and they let you go live. Just press a button and you're live. But if you want to do something a bit more expansive than that, involving graphics or involving different kinds of multiple split screens and things like that, then you probably want to have someone help you. And we're more than willing to do that. And so if you're interested in my helping you, let me throw my email address up there again. So, and I'll do this continually because it's really important, because we're looking to build content and we're looking to help others just to simply get out there. You don't have to get out there with us. If you want to come in under the we, that's fine. If you don't, that's okay too. We'll just get you out there on your own Facebook page. So if you're interested in finding out more about how to do that and how we can help you, then just go over to just email me. At that email address. Yeah, I'll get that email from you and follow up with you, and we can kind of talk about it. Because to make this type of thing happen, it's hardware and software, stuff like that, kind of a linking stuff together. But I can't show you my best stuff until people come on board. I want to show you my best split screen stuff. So that's really what my hope is. This weekend, my friend Donnie Glover was my guest at the Baltimore Rotary. Now, each year, I participate in the Rotary organization's oyster roast. And believe me, when it's as cold as it is right now, people breaking through that ice and trying to get some oysters, for the oyster roast, I'm sure that was truly a chore. But it happened. And so each year I do the wheel. When you spin the wheel and people put their money down, and if it lands on a certain number, you win. And I guess I've been doing that now for about 4 years, having a lot of fun, doing it because I kind of act as the barker. And what does that mean? Is I'm the person who works to pull you in. I might see you and, talk about the wheel is spinning and all that. And Donnie was able to get me on his particular channel, Be More News, which is what Donnie produces. And it was interesting to see myself, actually doing it. I just have so much fun, with people. And again, I like people, so, I'm just bringing them in and talking to them. And just like now, with the show, for the most part, unless I can get a brave soul to join me to click on that link, for the most part, heck, I'm going to put the link back up because I really want you to join me out there and show you how to get to me if you're not already at the we. So I really had a lot of fun at the Rotary and doing the wheel and so on. But in the same fashion, it's kind of at least a 3 hour where that goes from 12 to 4. And I guess I did about 3 hours of that too, just kind of bringing folks in and and doing my thing as a barker, so to speak. At least that's how I put it. Whatever you call that person who is on the mic and bringing folks in. So if you want to do that, if you want to just see me in action, you can go over to Be More News with Donnie Glover. He'll be on the show later, reflecting on Martin Luther King. So, well, what do we have here? I'm continuing. I don't know my old comments from my new comments. Oh, here's Donnie. What do you say? Yeah, bark or laugh out loud. Is that what that says there, Donnie? Yes. That's how I call it. I call it the barker. Yeah. So, but I do have a lot of fun. Donnie said I was getting my life on out there. But just because I'm a person who is a CPA and former CPA, I don't work in public accounting anymore, but that was like my first job for people out there who know me. Who might look up my resume on LinkedIn, because I'm on LinkedIn and you can look up my resume and see all about me. But I'm an ex-CPA, ex-investment banker. For those of you who don't know me, who are my new friends, I've taken a couple of companies public, and that has been what people, for the most part, know me for. I used to do the news here in Baltimore, where I'd come on, take live questions, talking about the stock market. So a lot of people know me from that. But I'm much more than that. Donnie. But although we're doing the business show later today, there's been so many different types of things that I've been blessed to be a part of. So I've got such a wide interest. So many things. That's why I'm looking forward to talking to whatever brave soul who is prepared to click on that link and join me. So we will see this morning. Oh, I see here that Etta Shields, my cousin. Yeah, thank goodness for family out there who is reacting to our video. So thank you. Good to know that you're up and rolling this early morning as we kind of try to get started. There's 50 million excuses when you have a day off not to get up, and nothing wrong with that. A day of rest. I mean, believe me, after getting up at 3:00 in the morning, 5 days a week, I need a little rest at the end of the week. I am happy to sleep late. Not that I don't enjoy getting up, because I'm kind of a morning person, and it's one of those kind of things where even if I don't have to get up, you kind of wake up, and you almost have to force yourself back to sleep. Well, now I really don't do that. I'm out of the bed. I channel my inner Obama, fired up, ready to go, and I kind of get out the door so I can be here with you all. And this is kind of interesting today because this is the beginning of our second week and the beginning of us really trying to take what we've learned and to help others. I mentioned a whole tech background, and I've got a interesting kind of tech background, different things, hardware, software, of various types that I've kind of taken courses, this, that, and the other. And I'm sure some of my friends up at MIT are watching today. In fact, I'm going to have one or two of them on as guests to talk about various issues that are happening in their lives, mostly business, because most of, when I was up at MIT, we were dealing with the entrepreneurship. And I'm very happy. I think I'm still a part. Andrew, if you're out there, you have to tell me if I'm still a part of the marketing material. I think my picture was there at one point in time. So just simply talking about entrepreneurship. So my thing is, even back then, one of the reasons why I wanted to do the MIT program is because it was a program in teaching entrepreneurship. And so that was what I kind of like to do, even later today when we talk about Chapman Means Business, to kind of get that out there a little bit. And I'm sure that a bunch of my friends from around the world in that program, other ways, are going to come on the show to try to help you. And in the meantime, though, I'm going to try to encourage as many people as possible. Let me put it back up there so that you will see where, if you are coming in any other way other than directly through the We, if you would go to the We, and at the top of the page, I posted today's link. Each day there's a different link, and really for each show. Later today for the Martin Luther King Day show, there'll be a different link for a person to click on to come in to kind of ask questions. But I'm hoping that I can encourage some brave soul to join me and click on that link. And please, if it's not working for any reason, just kind of send me a comment on Facebook, and I will try to make some adjustments here. Oh, I see my good friend Herbert Wright, who is out there, and who grew up next door to me. But I have so many different people, all of my new friends, maybe my new Florida friends. I see so many of my new Florida friends coming on board, and my new Mississippi, Alabama friends. Maybe you guys just aren't up yet. And so we have to look for you in the second hour. I mean, what do we have here? Okay, I see. I see a few reactions, as they put it here. So I am looking to see. Okay. All righty. We got a couple reactions, couple comments, but they're pretty much the ones we talked about. So we'll leave that alone. So the Facebook, the We123, click on that link. And for those of you who are up, who are brave enough, just set up your phone so I can see your face. Just hold it like this so I can see your face. Or let me just say this. If you have, and one of the things in kind of doing the show, if you have invested in one of these, you see that? I want to see that. What you do, this costs about $25. Put the phone in there and turn it toward me, and we'll just let it roll. It's an interesting little device. I use it sometimes. And we're going to talk a little bit about how easy it is for a person who, with just a few investments and working together with us, might be able to launch their own show. So that kind of device is kind of helpful to doing it. And that's one of the things that you're going to continue to hear me say. But when you look at some of the issues, just getting back to some of the things that have happened in the news, did anyone out there see that plane in Turkey that kind of skidded off the runway? I mean, it had literally skidded down to the point where it was hanging over a hill, almost like in a movie scene. Now, I'm thinking that was kind of something that they actually kind of put together, but it wasn't. I mean, the plane just skidded off, and it was literally hanging over the side. And that happened over in Turkey. And fortunately, there were no fatalities. There was no one killed. Everyone got off the plane safely. But as a person who used to fly all the time, you kind of feel like, I fly so much, sooner or later there's going to be some issues. And back in the day, especially, I would fly nearly every day of the week, somewhere as a part of the investment banking business. And, I've flown through some terrible weather in my day, certainly flights being canceled for different reasons and having to find other ways to get to where I had to go. And, but fortunately, I've never had any true incidents. I've never had an engine go out on a plane, or I never had a situation where it's skid off the runway. There have been times where I wondered, icy days and so on. But so far so good. But what happened in Turkey was just incredible. I don't know if any of you have any Turkish friends. I certainly, have a few. And if you're out there listening, come on and click in and let me know just what you thought about that, what was happening in Turkey and the plane. It kind of reminded me of that movie in a way, because it was just a real accident that could have been tragic that wasn't. Sully, of course, it was totally different facts, but Sully had to, land on water. This is a person who skidded off the runway and was able to save the plane before it went over the edge. But the same kind of situation, those lucky to be alive situations that you see, and fortunately, everybody in both situations survived. But I have to tell you, fortunately, I used to be a scared flyer. I used to be one of these people who hated to fly because I just couldn't stand the turbulence. That plane would start doing like that, and I just wonder if we're going down. And I was just holding on to the armrest and everything. I couldn't relax. And in fact, what I did back in the old days is to avoid that, I actually invested in a driver. Yeah, I had a driver. And what I would do is he did the whole thing. He'd pick me up from my home, and he'd bring me to work, and he'd wait around, see if I had someplace to go. But most importantly, what he would do is he would drive me to where I had to go. Now, you might think I'm crazy, but there was at one point, I had such a fear of flying that, and I kind of wonder where it came from. Maybe it was just getting older. I don't know, because at first I didn't have one, and then I developed one. Maybe I think it's all the negative stories that you see in the press, all the things about planes crashing and all that. I developed that fear, and so there was at one point where I had to go to California. Now, mind you, I had planned the trip of how I would get to California, and he drove me. You say, "Oh, Nate, you drove to California instead of taking a plane." Well, what I did is I made it into a real adventure. We kind of zigzagged across the country until we got to California, and I think we drove up to Milwaukee and Detroit and Chicago, places I had business, and then we jet down to Atlanta, and then we just zigzagged across the country. But the heart of that, the reason I didn't take planes to accomplish the same thing, fly in, fly out, is that, I'd rather sit in that car than go through the dread of flying. And then actually what happened was my driver was driving some other people somewhere, and he really thought that he had like a minor heart attack, and he didn't know if he wanted to drive anymore. So I said, okay. And rather than replace him, I started flying again. And from that point on, I still had a little bit of fear of flying. But also, for some reason, when Donnie's reminding me that I used to have a personal barber. I see his comment here about I used to have a personal barber. Well, that's true, too, because I'm always trying to save time. Going to the barbershop when I had hair, was a big deal. Now not such a big deal. My girlfriend will shave my head with her shaver. She shaves her legs with, just whatever. When you're shaving your head, there's no big deal. So, but back then, yeah. Oh yeah, I remember Donnie. I used to have a personal barber back in those days. But now it's just not worth the effort. How are you going to, you don't really get to do very much. Probably get to do a little bit more on this light beard. I'm wearing what I call a light beard look, because I can get a thicker beard and all that, but I'm wearing what they call a shadow beard look. So I don't know. You might see me thicken it up over time. But back in those days, after I got my driver, I started flying again. And for some reason now, if I fly anywhere, I fall asleep. I'm only on the plane a short time and I get sleepy. And so even though there might be a little turbulence and all, maybe because I'm down a little bit because, I'm sleeping. I'm not as paying attention to everything and all that. Because I definitely, this whole thing of striking up conversations with people, I would strike up conversations back in the old days out of fear, just trying to be distracted from what was happening. But now it's much better. It's, I don't really worry about it. I get on a plane and I don't know why. What I had to fear, now it's kind of gone. But I do understand other people's fears. It certainly has made me more sensitive to other people who have issues, people who don't like driving through tunnels or people who may have other things, because I understand. I don't have that particular fear or anxiety, but I understand. That whole flying thing was with me for a long time, but I had to do it. That one time, my driver drove me to California and back, and we did that, but I couldn't really do that all the time, because sometimes you just got to get to LA. You just got to get to San Francisco. You just can't do it. When we got out to California, we drove to all the cities, drove up to Sacramento and drove back and forth and all that. And that was lovely and that was beautiful and stuff. But I knew that even then that I would have to get over it. I had to get back on the plane, and usually I just tough it out. Even though I got this fright, and so on, I just tough it out. But now it's not so bad. Now, do any of you have any kinds of things like that? Any flying fears? Any anxieties that you've had to work with like that? Come on, I'm going to put it up there. You see Facebook at the We123. Go to that page. At the top of the page, I put a link, and if you click on that link, boom, you're right here in my green room. I can have up to 10 people in the green room. Right now, I got 0 people in the green room. So you'll be in the game, in the mix. If you come in there, and I'll give you a shot. Again, as long as you don't come right on giving me the finger or engage in pornography, or even if you do later in the broadcast, if I put you on and then you later jump to it, here's a little button here, and I will press it, and you'll be gone. And but barring that, we can kind of talk for a little while in a two-way talk format, which is, oh, look at that, I got someone, Mr. Earl. Oh, I see you in the green room. Okay. First, I'm going to take off this agenda thing here. I'm going to take off this piece so we can really get to see you and experiment with this technology. I can't really do the split screen and show the world. Oh, there we go. There we go, Mr. Earl. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
And I can hear you as well. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Mr. Nate. How's it going, sir?
Actually, it's going pretty well. It's glad to see you. I wanted to show people, the little technology. As you know, we can kind of take this thing even one more level. We split the screen one more time if another person comes on. And the good thing about this that I love and that I'm glad that you helped me show this morning is that, we can do this all over the world. I've got friends who are in other parts of the world who I'm looking to bring on. And whether you're here in Baltimore or you're in Florida or in wherever you might be in the United States or you're in another part of the world, we can bring you on. And this is it. And this is it. So, Mr. Earl, how are you doing today?
Well, since you woke me up, I figure I might as well call you. That buzz went off on my phone. I was sound asleep, man.
Oh, really? Is that what happens? A buzz goes off, an announcement that I'm live or something like that?
Well, at least on my phone, the buzzer went off, and I said, "What the heck?" 6 o'clock in the morning, I looked at it. It says, "The We is live."
The We is live. Well, we'll continue to experiment. I start the show with a little graphic. It gives me time to get all the different streams going before I actually, come on personally. So that seemed to go okay this morning. So far, so good. I don't. One of the things about that little announcement that you mentioned, I think it only goes out one time. So I'm gonna have to arrange through some other technology to kind of send it out. That if I do this for 90 minutes and you just get it at the beginning of the 90 minutes, you may forget that I'm here. What do you think, Mr. Earl?
We could probably figure out a way to invite folks or to remind folks that it's continuing to be live. Mm-hmm. But the reason I came on this morning, I know you needed someone to test it out, so I figured let me give you a shot. You keep saying that the link is at the top of the page. I just want to point out, first of all, you have to, I guess, bring up the We on Facebook, and then you have to scroll down to the comments section. So it's not at the top of the page, but you have to scroll down, way down to your first post.
The first post. Okay.
Right.
I have to modify so for those of you who are looking at the top of the page and don't see it, scroll down to my first post, and there, Mr. Earl, you'll find it.
Exactly. So that I wanted to test it out. So that's why even though I'm probably going right back to bed after this, I wanted to just test it out for you, make sure it's working properly, and put the word out there as to how easy it is to get online.
Well, that's right. This two-way talk format that we're looking to launch here, we keep saying the evolution of two-way talk. Back in the old days when I used to go on WEAA, which is a local radio station, and they do two-way talk, that was straight radio. Now you and I can do two-way talk. And it's now Facebook Live, and this whole thing broadcast can be done at the same time simultaneously on YouTube. And, that is the kind of the evolution and the show's format. So I'm really glad that you kind of got started to test me out. Did you see any football yesterday?
I saw all the games you were talking about. I'm footballed out, man. I watched everything. Uh-huh. But before you go there, I'm sitting here looking at my picture, and over the top right,
I see. Oh, I remember that. I remember that, Mr. Earl.
Yep. It's his day today. And there he is.
There he is. That's one of my favorite.
Yep.
One of my favorites.
Yeah, I just happened to notice it over my head and said I might as well mention it.
I always like that, how he's speaking with power.
Yep.
If I known that, I'd have done a little one of those little screen things, and maybe I'd have put it on.
Who knows? Who knows? Right, right, right.
But yeah, the we've got some other people. We're going to do a show later from 12 to 3. And 12 o'clock, famed civil rights attorney Donald Watkins is supposed to join us. And at 1 o'clock, Dr. C. Vernon Gray, author and professor, is supposed to join us. And then Donnie is going to help me close out the show at 2 o'clock. And we're hopeful that people like you will call in. Or not call in, but kind of click and kind of come into the show like you and be live and get their questions and be a part of the discussion. We'll split the screen and we'll go back and forth. And that's what we're hoping that will happen later today.
Well, you know how we do, man. For the longest time, I'm not going to leave you out there by yourself.
They won't leave me hanging. Where are my Florida friends? Where are my new friends? Don't leave me hanging. Don't be afraid. I won't bite you.
I don't want to say y'all there begging, pleading, whatever.
All right, please. Someone click on that link and join me.
Well, one of the things that is dear to my heart, as someone who immigrated to this country over 50 years ago. From one of those S-hole countries from the West Indies, one of those folks who came here and don't, live off the system, but contributed, as most of my friends have, to put up with this sort of stuff these days. It's sort of traumatic, but it is what it is.
Well, we spend a lot of time talking about the darkness and some of the negative stuff, but when things like this happen, it gives those people who feel differently an opportunity to be a light and to stand up and say that they don't agree with those kind of comments that are coming from the president or anyone else. And people who wouldn't otherwise have a whole lot to say feel like they have to say something. So I think that as much as he said that one negative thing, it's inspired a lot of other people to really stand up and say some positive things, and that this is not what the country's all about. That you've got this one person, and he thinks that he happens to be the president of the United States. He made his statement, but there's so many other people who are Republican, Democrats, independents, people who don't live here in this country, who think differently, and it gives them that opportunity to really stand up and to speak, and so I'm kind of. Looking at that, we sense and not spend so much time on him and the negative piece.
What gets me, though, is not just the people who are giving the overt approval to what the things that he's saying, but all those quiet people who are giving tacit approval by not saying anything, not speaking out against him, and just by giving him support that way.
Well, one thing Donald Trump did do, at least in my opinion, is that when he was going through the primaries and the debates, he really showed the true character of a lot of our elected officials. Maybe it's just me. It would be hard for me to have someone to talk about my wife, talk about my father, the way he did, the senator from Florida. What's the guy's name? The senator from Rubio. And then come back and shake his hand like we're all boys and everything. That would be kind of hard. And maybe the political game is one that you do that in, and others. But he showed that you can do it. That these guys, the level of their character is such that you can talk about their mothers, you can talk about whatever, and they'll just come back and lick your hand and kiss your ring.
You know how I feel about politicians. We won't talk about that on the air, but if you remember years ago, we went through some things with some politicians, and what was the mantra? This too shall pass.
This too shall pass. That's right.
And it has come to light. I mean, that's the way it is. Mm-hmm. And this too shall pass. He's there for 4 years or maybe even 8. But this too shall pass, and we'll go back to hopefully a better life, because we are much better than this.
Well, I believe that as well. And so much more is happening than just Trump. And there's so many other things that are happening in the world that need attention. And as the saying goes, I guess because he's president, because of his personality, and because of Twitter, every day you can kind of create your own story. He draws a lot of the oxygen his way, that would be going to all the other news stories and other things. Like I was reading the story today, Mr. Earl. There's a shortage of IV bags in this country.
I hadn't heard that one.
Yeah, and as a person who, I've had a couple of health challenges, where I've had to use an IV bag a couple of times, the thought that there is a shortage of IV bags, and what they're doing is they're, normally you have a saline solution, but they're switching more, if they can, the dextrose, and instead of giving you medicine through the IV, more and more they're giving you some of the oral stuff, and that story was out there. I think CNN or USA Today reported it, and it was kind of shocking to me that what caused it. I mean, how could that happen? All of a sudden, there are no IV bags. You kind of wonder, well, is this some way to get the price of IV bags up, or just how that can happen? But but the reason I'm mentioning that is that there's so many other important things that need attention in this world.
That is that is so true.
But
let me say something that I think is, and I've been thinking about this, is rather controversial. But this man is the duly elected president of the United States, and as citizens, I think we have an obligation to help make this country work. We need to find. It's almost impossible to work with him, but the key is almost. We need to find a way to continue to make this country work, despite the things that, his divisive methods.
Well, we'll always have those people that are divisive. I think our constitutional framers understood that we're still in the process of making this country what it can be, the dream that it can be. When they put those words in the Constitution in order to form a more perfect union, that we didn't have that perfect union yet, but we're all working toward it and trying to figure out ways as we evolve with population and trends and people who maybe have opinions that are divisive, that we're all kind of working to form that more perfect union. And we're still work in progress. And that's really my hope. And look at this as not a final stage, but just this too shall pass, because we all still are work in process.
Well, look, let me take my leave. I don't want to take over this morning. So
no, man, it's really glad. I'm really happy to hear from you, and it's happy to have the split screen. I was hoping even that one more person could come in and we would do the kind of triple screen and show folks what is possible. I don't know if you caught that last week when we went to the triple screen.
Yes, I did.
What is possible, and to inspire some others that I won't bite them.
Well,
who are out there watching this.
I'm available for experiments. If you are trying something and you want to just check something out, just give me a holler.
I will.
I'll pop in and help you out.
I will. And just the last thing before you go, Mr. Earl, what we're looking to do is, and the effort it takes to kind of get this kind of setup up and rolling, but we want to help others to do it as well. I put out my email address, and I'm going to continue to do that so that we can talk to people and help others who are looking to do these live broadcasts, who have clients. You might be in a real estate business like yourself and want to do something with clients, or you might want to do something in other ways, cosmetics, fashions. So we want to show folks how to do it. So I appreciate you letting me coming in and chewing and talking to me about just issues and showing how we can kind of jump people into the split screen and actually how it works and actually where it is. The link is at the top of my post, and not actually at the top of the page. It's at the top of my post.
Exactly. Well, we can chew the fat, or some people are chewing the lettuce these days, but we can talk about diets at some point. We've both been there.
Yeah, well, I need to chew more of the lettuce because, even today, I start my day. I'm starting with 2-day-old pizza for breakfast. So, because it's quick.
I love cold pizza, man.
Yeah, it's quick. Normally I'll stop at the diner or something on the way in, but I was running a little late, so I grabbed that pizza. Mike, when I got in here, that was it. It's time to roll.
Yeah, I heard that. All right, man. Well, you have a great show. I'll be watching.
Thank you, Mr. Earl, and thank you for coming in.
Bye now.
Bye-bye. Well, thank you. Thank you for coming in. Now, who is going to be that next person? Who is going to be that next person to come into the show? And just, you get an example of what we do, how we do it. So, I want to inspire you to kind of come into the show. What is this? What is this? I see I see almost an image. And Donnie, you got, what are you doing? Oh, I see Donnie. I'm about to bring Donnie Glover on. Donnie,
How you doing?
I'm doing well. I see you out there. I see you got the hoodie on this morning.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Oh, you
I
taking it
heard you
down. I
talking.
see now.
Yeah, I heard you talking about the president.
Yes. You know, I had Mr. Earl on, and he was talking a little bit about the whole. I won't even use the word. You know, of how he referred to some of the countries in Haiti and Africa and so on. And you know, and what are your thoughts on that? You're going to be on the show later today. I know you're going to be in. We're going to be talking about Martin Luther King and reflecting on that. And you also have your own show, which comes on a Tuesday at 10 o'clock. Where you people should watch some of the past show that we did, or the past show, because this is only our second week. But also on BeMoreNews.com, you've got a tremendous amount of videos, and also on YouTube. But go ahead, before we get into that, what were your thoughts on the president?
Well, today is Dr. King's birthday, and I wonder how Dr. King would take those comments. You know, what I get stuck on is when he says that he wants to make America great again, as if America isn't already great. Mm-hmm. And so it just begs the question, what does he mean? Mm-hmm. And from his actions, is it safe to presume that for him, making America great again means making America only for white people? I mean, that's kind of what I wonder. Is that what he's saying? Mm-hmm. He seems to be filled with hate, venom, though.
Well, sometimes I wonder if he means only for rich people and those who he feels are of a certain class. You know, because there are certainly some whites that he doesn't like. I don't think he likes Morning Joe Scarborough, too much anymore, or his co-host. You know, he kind
or
of
any of the late night shows.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's certainly some others that although Morning Joe would be classified as a rich person himself, I mean, he said as much himself and what the salaries are of what he and his co-hosts make. But you know, there are certainly some people, maybe even the governor of Ohio, Kasich, I don't think is one of his favorite people, and you know, a long list of probably members of the Kennedy family and the Clintons. Who wouldn't be on his favorite list anymore, who should be looking forward to any trips down to Mar-a-Lago, down in Florida. So, I mean, and really, so when I look at that, I wonder if it's not just class, but like a class within a class, you know, because it's not just all rich people, but just, you know, rich people who kind of think like him.
Great point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, you know, but the thing is, what I was saying earlier, what I see are so many people who are speaking out. I mean, we can talk about those who aren't, and maybe some that should say more, but so many people are speaking out. And whenever someone says something like that, it really does give those people who may not, in another circumstance, feel like they need to speak out, the chance to speak out. And who will say some things that maybe are more positive, let's say, and more respectful. Yeah. So, you know, we're seeing a ton of those people as well. But Donnie, you're giving me, you're letting me show that I'll put you on the show, even if your image isn't 100%. And I mean by that, if you see I don't know if you're watching yourself, but it's kind of a little bit clouded. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
It's an old computer.
Yeah, but the point I want to make is a lot of folks think, unless my tie is straight and unless, you know, I'm looking 100%, you know, and everything's perfect with the lighting and everything, maybe I shouldn't do this. And I'm hoping that people see otherwise, you know, that you don't have to have it 100%. We're doing a two-way talk format here. And I'm hoping that.
I feel like Mr. Earl. Kind of feel like Mr. Earl, we don't want to leave you out there by yourself.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Because, you know, I've got my cup here. I'm prepared to kind of go 90 minutes, but I'm hoping I don't have to. You know?
I thought you were going to go to the parade today. Are you going to the parade?
You know, we got the show going from 12 to 3. This will stop, but it's 6 to 9. I'll go here from 6 to 9. Then the show from 12 to 3. Probably not today. You know, when I leave here, I'll be parading right to bed. You know, to get some rest. get some rest.
What,
But
what are your thoughts on Dr. King?
well,
He was an alpha.
he was. Donnie mentioned he was a member of my fraternity, and I guess when I think of Dr. King, I really think about when he was killed. I mean, I think more about that than anything else. I mean, I know what he's done and all those kinds of issues, but I remember when he got shot and the reaction in my home. And we'll talk a little bit about it later. That I still remember my mom crying. And she wasn't a crier. My mom was a strong, strong woman. She'd fight you. But that night when he was shot, because it was one of those things where the announcer comes on, he says, "Dr. King has been shot," and then they don't know what happened and all. And then a little while later, maybe an hour or so later, Dr. King has died. It was kind of one of those things in black and white TV. And so I remember just my mother crying, calling my relatives. That's the thing that kind of sticks out in my mind. The other things, all the marches and stuff, I saw those things on television, growing up. But I was just, a child, really. Maybe I was about 11, something like that, when he died. So
my first memories are the riots.
Oh, really?
My first memories, 1968.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember
people all in the streets. I remember tanks coming up North Avenue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, there was a lot of that, a lot of sadness, and a lot of people expressing themselves through just their anger, through violence in the streets. And I remember James Brown, the soul singer, coming on and trying to calm people. So there was a lot that was going on at that time. In fact, I have my aunt. That's the other thing I remember. My aunt, the day that Martin Luther King was at a book signing or something in New York, she was there. And when he was stabbed in his chest by what he, in his words, that demented woman, and he was being taken out, she saw the whole thing. So, I remember her telling the story of that. So I remember that as well.
It took a lot of courage, Dr. King, to take a path of nonviolence.
Well, that's very true.
Is very violent.
That's very true. That's very true. When you and I talk later, I'm going to talk a little bit about your activism and what it takes, because you were out there doing the Freddie Gray White riots, and you've been out there in a way that would attract enemies and so on, and what the kind of things you experienced. I look forward to talking to you about those kind of things, and also the politics. For instance, we're talking about earlier about Trump, and you're a Republican. And you fight for Republican causes. But as, let's say, an African American who's Republican, how do you separate being an African American who's a Republican from Trump, who's technically the head of the Republican Party?
Well, technically, I'm a Democrat.
Oh, I always thought you were a Republican. Mm-hmm.
No, but I did vote for Ehrlich, and I voted for Hogan. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you why.
Who were two Republican candidates?
Yeah, the first and second Republican governors in the past 50 years. Mm-hmm. I can tell you that Baltimore is a 9-1 Democratic town. Mm-hmm. The state is 2-1 Democrat. Mm-hmm. And for me, that means a Democratic Party with no checks and balances. Mm-hmm. i.e. the Baltimore City Public School System, i.e. the police department, i.e. City Hall. You mentioned, we just talked about the 68 riots. What about 2015? First riots in 47 years. And many of those neighborhoods, including, the first neighborhood I remember, North and Patterson Park, these neighborhoods have not seen any kind of development, rehab in my lifetime, 52 years. Mm-hmm. Yet I look at North and Charles, I look at, Fells Point, Harbor East, they seem to get transformed before our very eyes. Mm-hmm. And so in a city loaded with some of the quote unquote greatest institutions of higher learning in the world, including Morgan and Hopkins, it baffles me that with all of these intelligent people, we still haven't figured out how to spread around the resources. And as an African American, I just see the Black community quite often blamed for things that are wrong when you cut on the news. And that's why I'm really excited about your show, because when you cut on the news, everything wrong, and maybe it's just my skewed Black perspective, you know, murder in the Black community. And then, you know, when they mention other communities, it's anything but murder.
Well, you're absolutely you're absolutely right, Donnie. All the stories aren't being told in the news. You know, sometimes I look at the news and I say, "Where's my story?" You know, the guy who grew up poor, but went on to graduate college in 2.5 years. You know, became a CPA. You know, started a company, took it public. You know, where's my story? I exist. It wasn't just grew up poor. You know, I became a drug addict and this and that.
And for young people to see something else on the news except Black people in handcuffs. Mm-hmm. Because I submit to you, it plays on their psyche. Mm-hmm. You know, when I was 15, I met Ronald Shakir. And Ronald Shakir had, you know, he was an imam and had traveled all over the world. Mm-hmm. You know, I met you when I was about 20. Mm-hmm. He's a guy with his own driver, his own personal barber, making investment deals all over the country, traveling the world. But if our young people don't see people in their own community doing global things and traveling the world and, you know, making moves, then they'll think their life is limited by what they see on the 6 o'clock news. Mm-hmm. And like, you know, there's so much more.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, it's funny. I've seen some of my Spanish friends, for instance, you know, they see negative images of themselves in the news media as well. I forget the guy who he's an actor, and he stars as a villain a lot of times. And he had his own show where he had the machete. You remember? I don't remember the guy's name, but his show was called Machete. and he would talk about how with the negative images coming up in the Hispanic community, he kind of grew up thinking that he was supposed to become a drug dealer and did do that. It was only when he was a boxer in prison and so on. He got out and he was working as a security on some movie set. And a person said, you know, with your look, your hard look, you know, we want to have you in as an extra. And that kind of started him, you know, down the acting road. But he really, because of those negative images, which you're right, can be so influential. He thought that he was supposed to be a drug dealer. But my story, I mean, the story of someone who became an investment banker and, you know, had his drive, you know, do the driver thing, you know, our company on the top floor of the World Trade Center, the entire floor and all that kind of stuff. You know, you know, that kind of story I have not seen, which is my story. You know, let me ask you something. Let me just kind of segue into a more global thing and get your opinion on this. Over the weekend, and this is in Hawaii, they had a nuclear missile warning. Did you see that?
I did not.
Self back in.
Still there?
Yep, I got to bring myself back in. So what they had was this warning that went out on everybody's cell phone that a nuclear missile had been launched and that, you know, it was imminent and that they should take cover. Now, it was just it was a mistake. Someone had pressed the wrong button. But can you imagine something like that happening in a major city?
Yeah.
Are you still with me?
Yeah, I am.
You still with me?
See me? Yeah, I am. See me?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, Donnie, I can still see you if you can hear me, but I can't hear you. So, what do we have here?
Can you hear me?
What do we have here? And we also have Derek Burnett, who's out there, who's going to look like he's going to give me there he is, the opportunity to do my split screen here, my triple way split screen.
So, good morning, brothers.
Good morning. Good morning. I don't know if Donnie can hear us anymore. Can Donnie still hear us?
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
I I can hear you.
Can you
I
hear
see
me?
both.
Okay.
Well, Donnie, can you hear us out there? Yeah, I've been.
Yes.
You see me moving around the split screen technology, which I'm hoping to show people that I can, help them with, because I want to get more people out there on Facebook and kind of show them how to do what we're doing this morning. And you guys coming on give me an opportunity to talk about that a little bit. But all of a sudden I can't hear Donnie's voice. Can you hear him out there, Derek?
Yes, I can.
What's up, Doc?
Good morning, Donnie. How you doing, brother? Pleasure to see you and hear you.
Yes, sir. Top of the day to you.
Yeah.
Always.
Well, maybe I've lost his audio on my end.
Who, Donnie?
Donnie's.
Yeah, I hear him laughing.
But if you can hear him, maybe the problem's with me.
Push one of them buttons.
Welcome to the live stream.
Yeah.
But Derek, we were just chewing the fat here, and I'm glad you came on so I could show people a little bit of the old split screen technology here that we've invested in and that I want to show others. But we were talking a little bit about that announcement of what happened in Hawaii, that they had that nuclear missile announcement that came up on everybody's cell phone, that a nuclear missile had been launched and that everybody should take cover. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that. That's crazy, man.
Yeah. Can you imagine something like that happen in the Baltimore, Washington area or other major cities? And I think it would have started a riot.
It would have been a panic. Would have been traumatic.
Mm-hmm.
Really would have.
Yeah. Half the people would be getting out of town like Independence Day. You ever see that scene of Independence Day where they drop the aliens drop the bomb and everybody's trying to get out of town?
Oh yeah.
I think it would have been like that. But some people who have been left behind trying to raid the stores, unfortunately, I think something like that would have happened, but fortunately it was just a hoax. It wasn't really something that was true, and they were able to let people know that was just something that was an error. So, but given what's happening in North Korea, that kind of thing could become more and more real.
Yeah, it reminds me of those days, not that I actually participated in them, but I remember hearing about them. Days when you had bomb shelters.
Mm-hmm.
And, they would have bomb shelter practices. When an alarm go off, you're supposed to get down and put your head in between your knees and things of that nature. You guys remember any of that?
I don't really remember that. I just remember seeing it on TV. Maybe we did it when I was younger, but I don't really remember it so much. You did it in your schools?
I remember I was 5. My father was in the military, so...
You did it, Derek, in your school?
Yeah, maybe it was part of our protocol. I remember being in Maine. My brother was born in Maine. We was at Loring's Air Force Base, right across the border from Canada.
I'm going to get myself
in
back.
The early 60s. And,
okay, I think I'm back. Derek, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
All righty. I think probably you out there in the world can hear us all. Nate, only you cannot hear. Well, isn't that something? But it is a factual case. Yeah, so we'll just keep working with the technology, of which... Mm-hmm.
Right, it's great to be a work in progress.
Yeah, Earl's saying here that it took 38 minutes to inform people that it wasn't a hoax. He put up a comment here and show Earl's comment. It took 38 people to show that it was not a hoax.
Yeah, 38 minutes is a long time, man. That's a long time.
So,
I'm sure a lot of people.
So yes, Mr. Earl, that was actually quite scary. It was scary to me, and I wasn't even in Hawaii. Now, Derek, I don't know if you can still hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Out there?
Yes,
Give me
I can.
Because I'm not hearing very much.
Okay, I can hear you.
I'll tell you what, Derek, if you can hear me, I'm going to take you down and then ask you to come back in again. And we'll try that. How about that?
Let's try it.
Okay. Great. I got Derek back in the green room again. This is Facebook Live. and broadcasting live. It's interesting as I kind of do this, as I kind of do the Facebook Live week after week. Okay, Derek's back in. We'll see if that makes a difference to at least whether I can hear him. I think you guys could always hear him. Derek, you back?
Yeah, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Okay, and I can hear you. So
All
we're back doing our thing, man. Hey, look, while we have this break, you've got a show coming up on Thursday at 7:00.
Thursday night, a little concept I created called Culturally Conscious Narrative. The Culturally Conscious Narrative. And what we're going to do, we're going to speak on culturally conscious subject matters every Thursday. I'm starting off the first show with the great Donnie Glover. Donnie Glover naturally wrote his book, Unapologetically Black. We're going to talk about, some of the things that are going on in the community. We're going to talk about how the media and technology, how it affects our image and how it affects our youth, and how does he compare living in Baltimore when he was young? How does he compare that to the lifestyle that these young kids are going through today? It should be very interesting.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, but you're really doing what we talked about. You have a voice, you have a story, and we're looking to get people out there. So whether you're down in Florida and you're in the real estate business, or you're in Little Rock, Arkansas, or wherever you might be, and you're hearing this broadcast, we're looking to get more voices out. We're looking to help people and to do that. Earlier I put up my email address so you can make contact with me, and we could talk about how we can do that. But Derek's a prime example of he and I sitting down. He has an interest and a voice to get out there, and we want to do that for him. So Derek, in addition to the information that you're going to be providing, we appreciate you just showing people again, how they can come on the show and evolve into getting their own show. Because I won't be a part of that. It'll just be you as a host, and you're going to have Donnie on as your first guest. But we're looking forward to having you routinely, to kind of build your following and to help us in finding out information. But also, I'm going to jump around. I'm going to give you a chance. Were you watching any football this weekend?
Yeah, I watched a little bit. I did. I watched a little bit. I watched some highlights. Specifically, I watched a little bit of the Pittsburgh game.
Did that surprise you?
Kind of, sort of. That was a true test to say whether Jacksonville was for real. To go up into Pittsburgh, because they're a warm weather state, play under those conditions and beat up on Pittsburgh like that. Those guys are for real. Yeah.
Well, for a team to beat Pittsburgh at Pittsburgh, you're right. I mean, because people say, okay, you're from Jacksonville, Florida. You're a person that's interested in the warm weather games and all. But to go up to Pittsburgh when it's cold and beat Pittsburgh, I thought that was pretty major.
Yeah, I thought it was too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I didn't watch any of the second game. The only thing I watched, I heard all the hoopla about the kid from University of Maryland making this catch, so I had to go watch it on the highlights.
From where? Where was he from again?
Oh, he's from University of Maryland.
Oh, yes. I remember seeing him play in college.
Oh, really?
He was a truth in college.
Yeah. I even saw a post where his mother had actually confronted Ozzie Newsome, saying that he was crazy by not drafting this kid. This kid didn't get drafted to the 5th round.
Mm-hmm.
And we had an opportunity to draft him, and the Ravens never drafted him. So she was highly upset, and she confronted him as a result of that.
Well, he got hurt in college, and there were some who thought that maybe he was not going to be quite the player he was, because he was really he was the real game. He was the everything for Maryland his first couple of years, and then he got hurt. And I think that caused maybe some people to back up, because he should never have been down a 5th round. But I think that's what happened with him.
Okay.
But at the same time, I see Ozzie Newsome. He basically jogs where I jog, although I haven't been jogging too much lately. And I know that he really views that as someone that he missed. Just because of the mistake. Of just seeing how this guy has performed. Down in Jacksonville.
Yeah. He's turned into a great receiver.
Mm-hmm. Now, did you get a chance to see the Minnesota Saints game?
Nah. The only thing I watched with that was the end.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was really all you had to see, although the Saints put down 3 touchdowns, and I thought it was over. I thought that Minnesota was going to put the smack down on them because they had held them to like 21-0. My memory serves correctly, and I thought that was it. And the Saints just came right back and took the lead. They really had the game. And
the Saints have an explosive offense.
Mm-hmm.
Any given moment, any given time, somebody can score.
Mm-hmm. Well, they did it. Drew Brees brought them back. Man, that was a great game. And then to lose the way they did when they shouldn't have lost. I mean, that one guy, I think his name was Marcus Williams. He missed that tackle.
Oh, I feel sorry for that kid, man.
Mm-hmm.
He's a rookie too.
Yeah, he missed that tackle against the Maryland guy. That's what it was. Maryland guys on Minnesota, and against that guy. And man, that was just. I saw it, and I'm telling you, when I saw him miss that tackle, man, I could have made that tackle.
Yeah,
even at my age, right now.
That was tackling 101. I got a good friend of mine that coaches at the Randallstown Panthers, Rod, and coincidentally, I think I'm gonna try to have him on the show the week of the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. But he actually posted a picture of that tackle, and that safety had his head down.
He did.
He had his head down. He didn't see the tackle. The person he was attempting to tackle, he didn't see him. He just took his head down and tried to run through him, and that's how he missed it.
Yeah, he went down too early. If you look at it, I mean, it's one thing to put your head down the last minute before impact on somebody because you know you're about to hit him, but man, he put his head down and ducked, and he missed the guy altogether.
Didn't touch.
Mm-hmm. So I was kind of shocked at that. And I haven't been watching much football, but because it's the playoffs and all that, I thought that I'd watch a little bit of it. And because really, I'm pretty busy. Lots of things I do on the weekends as it relates to the show, and the technology piece. Is something that you never really know much about, but. Because we had Donnie on, and I couldn't hear Donnie, and earlier had you on. Things like that happen, and we got kind of the best situation here. We're all hooked into the wire. It's not wireless, where it's easy to lose a signal in a wireless situation. We're all wired here, so but technology, things will happen, and so having you and Donnie to be able to show people how we can split screen stuff, and how easy was it for you to click in?
It was pretty easy. Once Earl reviewed those directions again, it was pretty easy because honestly, I had forgot since the last time I was on.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, because I kept saying it was at the top of the page because, when you pin something, it says it's pinning it to the top of the page. It doesn't say it's pinning it to the top of your post. Right. And so you got to scroll down a little bit. It'll stay at the top. It won't move. It's pinned. But you got to kind of, get in there a little bit to see where to click. So I'm just hopeful to inspire people. I mean, people can see that you're coming in. What are you using, an iPad?
Actually, I got the phone in my hand. I could use an iPad.
Oh, man. That's good. I'm going to tell you, I've invested, and I'm going to get some of my people to invest in one of these devices that you see here.
Yeah, I need to get one of those, man. No doubt.
Yeah, you just kind of put your phone in here and set it down and kind of let it go. I just, make sure the camera sees it. But it's a real easy device. It's a tripod. Yeah, I'm going to be... kind of showing people where to get it, and also just helping more people get their own shows together. You don't really have to have the true. All you need is access to your cell phone. And with that, we can do the background. We're more than willing to do the background for people with graphics and all. You see our names appearing, other kinds of graphics and things that we can do. And in fact, some of the things you and I have talked about doing. In fact, you gave me the idea. We were talking about bringing up pictures. That led to the graphic that you see at the beginning of the show. I have one graphic and I have a picture of downtown Baltimore that I bring up on Mornings with Nate. So that's how I do it. So, and also Donnie said very easy on a PC. So very easy to come in on a PC. So I'm hopeful. I have friends all over the country, and I'm hopeful that we can kind of get some of them in. I'm now having to go recruit some folks to come in because I think folks are a little concerned that they need to be dressed just right to come on the show and to kind of maybe have everything perfect. And you really don't, just because this is our evolution of two-way talk. And on your show, the same thing. That you want people to kind of react to what you're saying, and to be able to come in without thinking that they have to have everything 100%. We've got lighting up the wazoo here, and we've got a lot of things that are for studio, but you don't have to have that in order to get your message out there. And that's the thing that I wanted to make sure we share, and that I appreciate your coming on and doing. What else is happening? What else in the spirit of two-way talk? What are you interested in?
Oh man, I've got an assortment of topics. Naturally, I'm always interested in solar. That's what I do with Sunrun Legacy Power. During these winter months, you don't get as much daylight to absorb the sun as you do during the summer months. I was just looking at my app the other day. Typically, nowadays, we only get like 9.5 hours worth of sun. But no matter how cold it is, I'm still absorbing those kilowatts, so I'm happy.
Mm-hmm. Now, is 9.5 hours average or bad, or how does that relate to what we normally? What is good?
This is the time frame for the winter. I know during the summer months, I was getting 14.5 hours of sunshine every day, or daylight, put it that way, every day to absorb the kilowatts through my solar panels. And then I could access this information on my phone. I could just go to my site, see how many kilowatts I've generated to date, what time they started, how many I've generated for the month. Man, it's just like you say, technology is a beast, man. There's so much you can do with technology today. It's crazy. I even can set up my thermostat in my house from wherever I'm at through my phone. I just, when I get home, I want the house to be cool. Let me turn down this AC. Or when I get home, I want the house to be warm. Let me turn this heat up. Or if I know I'm going to be away from the house for a few hours, let's turn this heat down. So the use of technology, all of that's incorporated in the systems that we provide. And we use what's known as a Nest thermostat. And that Nest thermostat allows you to tap in with your phone. It allows you to have access to your temperature settings in your home. It allows you to even create a pattern. Certain times of the year, certain times of the day, you might have your home set up to be a certain temperature. And once you establish that pattern, the thermostat actually records that pattern. So you don't have to adjust it every day. Once it sees you like that temperature, it'll continue to do that for you.
Now, does it matter where the person's in the mountains, closer to the sun, or like in the Baltimore Harbor, where you're kind of at sea level? Does that matter much?
No, not really. Not really. The greatest thing that's of concern is your home's orientation to the sun. Naturally, the sun rises in the east and it sets in the west, and it's always in the southern hemisphere. So, the actual location in terms of height differential between you and the sun, that really doesn't matter.
Yeah, I often wondered about that. The future of our grid and electricity and all is so much being affected by people getting these solar panels. And there's certain countries that are going to 100% solar. They don't really have a grid per se. They just work off of solar panels. And I think Germany may be kind of like that they just pretty much work off of solar panels, or people at least.
Germany is probably the most solar implemented country in the world. I'm not saying they're 100%, but their percentage is higher than anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, I haven't been over to Germany in quite some time, so I'm looking forward to it. And all my German friends that are out there, I'm looking for you to join the show. If you're out there listening, click on that link. As you can see, folks are able to come in and we chew the fat in a two-way talk format. And I want you to make sure you share our video, but also to go over to the and down at the top of the post. As Earl said, not the top of the page, but top of my post is where I pinned the post that would enable you to join in and to be a part of what we're doing here. Also, have you focused much on this Donald Trump story that says that there was, and I try not to talk so much about Trump, but it's almost impossible because he's so out there, that there was this porn star that was paid $130,000 to keep quiet about a relationship she had with Trump?
No, I haven't heard that one, man. It's every day it's something, man.
Yeah, well, this is in the Washington Post. So
speaking of the Washington Post, and I hate to divert the conversation away from it, but I'm kind of glad we are. My wife and I went to see that movie. Have you seen that movie yet? The Washington Post?
No, I haven't. Was it any good?
Man, you got to see that. That's a great historical perspective on how the Post evolved from a small, just city Washington, D.C. paper to an international paper. Mm-hmm. And the subject matter associated with its evolution was the Vietnam War. Mm-hmm. And then from the Vietnam War, the Watergate incident. Oh, man, that was a great movie. Mm-hmm. But it's the only thing bad about it is they always give us this information about how things happen and who was in the wrong 50 years after the fact.
Right. I was thinking about seeing it.
I would suggest that's a great historical perspective. I think all the kids should come see it. And another thing that made it so timely was the fact when all these decisions was being made, these decisions was being made by a woman who had inherited the control of the Post through her husband. Her father used to own the Post, but then the Post was turned over to her husband through her father. Then her husband died, and then she naturally became the sole controller of the Post.
Right, Katharine Graham. That's right.
Katharine Graham, exactly. So and I never knew that. Mm-hmm. So in these days and times when you got a lot of people, or a lot of women rather, especially vying for equal pay and equal rights, the story itself is very appropriate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I definitely will go to see it based on that because I love a good movie. I love a good biography, whether it's of a company or a historical period or a person. I just love to see those stories. And you got Meryl Streep, who's one of my favorite actresses ever, and along with Tom Hanks. So it's only going to be so bad with the two of them doing it.
Yeah, it was great, man. It was good. We actually went and saw it at the Towson movie theaters. Mm-hmm. Have you been out there yet?
No, I haven't. No, I have not. I haven't. I've been here grinding on the show, but I haven't. I haven't been doing too much, really, honestly, other than just the things that are related to the show and internet. But you mean even before the show started? Just so many tech things I've been doing. I haven't been able to get to the movies the way I would like to do. I used to love going to the movies. Every week I would be going to a different movie. And then I of course, with pay-per-view and all, I watch stuff after the fact a lot. And just watch it over and over again, some of my more favorite movies. But that's one maybe I'll just have to take a break and go see. Do you get to movies very often?
I really don't need it, but when we do, I'm kind of spoiled now. I know Towson and a few other movie theaters, like surprisingly, Security Mall just renovated their movie theater. And I understand they're going to do the same thing with Owens Mills when they renovate the mall at Owens Mills. Mm-hmm. But the movie theater at Towson, they have a VIP section where you go upstairs and there's a bar. You can order drinks. You can order a meal,
Wow.
Then you go to your you can go to your seat, and then you've got a chaise lounge type chairs where you kick your feet up and kick back, and you got a button where you can hit a waiter and waitress, and then come get your order. It's really a great environment, man.
Wow, I definitely have to check that out. I know there are many people that are listening to us from other parts of the country, and I don't know how predominant it is in other parts of the country that those have those kind of movie theaters. I certainly would like to hear about it because for here locally, that's pretty much a new thing.
Yeah, it is new. And they did the same thing at security too.
Mm-hmm.
I was pleasantly surprised. I went to see the Thurgood Marshall movie there.
Mm-hmm.
At security. I mean, I kind of had been avoiding security,
Right.
Because I'd much rather go to Columbia or Towson.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I walked in, they did the renovation. I said, well, you know what? I'll definitely be back.
Mm-hmm. What was the crowd like in security? Because sometimes it could have, in the past, it could get a little rowdy.
No, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad at all. I mean, I guess because it was the time, too. I think me and the wife did this like 11 o'clock in the morning.
I got you.
Those type
Yeah.
of shows.
I just, Security Mall and here locally has changed a lot. I remember I was at a Best Buy store one time, and I'll never forget it. Best Products store, because Best Products has kind of gone out of business, but it used to be a huge national chain. And I was there, and I was kind of shopping for some technology, which they had at the time. And I saw these guys, and they were staring at me and so on. Maybe they thought I was store security or something. And then out of the blue, without any warning, this one guy, he grabbed an armful of clocks and and ran out the store, and jumped in a car and took off. I'm sitting there watching him. But the thing about when I left the store, I drove up to Security Mall because I didn't find what I wanted, so I went to Security Mall. And I saw these same guys, they were in the car unloading the goods.
Get out of here.
That kind of turned me against Security Mall because, I'm thinking if these guys will risk prison for what I saw was just a few $100s worth of merchandise, what would they do to me? I mean, how much money do I have in my pocket? Oh.
That's crazy. That's crazy, man.
Yeah. So it kind of turned me against Security Mall a little bit, but the things have really changed there and around the country. But that's very Baltimore, unfortunately. You see stuff like that. Yeah, I've seen the same thing happen out of Towson where you're talking. A guy grab an armful of clothes and just start running. Right. I've seen that out of Towson Mall. Store manager halfway chasing, which you shouldn't be risking your life over that stuff, but maybe the security you can alert will handle it. So yeah, I've seen it out there as well. So you the way you do your business, you're pretty much an entrepreneur on your own. You're out here trying to get your business. You're supported by a bigger company, but you're pretty much having to kind of decide what clients you're going to go after and go after those clients and make it happen on your own. Or do you get more support than that?
No, I don't get any support. Like you say, you eat what you kill.
Eat what you kill. That's right.
Eat what you kill.
Mm-hmm.
It's I'm on my own, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So I generate my own client base. I generate my own leads. I generate my own follow-ups. I do my own presentations. Through the use of technology, my iPad, I could do the design right there on the spot in the living room of a person's home, or if they like for me to do their design, all they gotta do is send me their name, their property address, their email address, and the amount of monthly electricity that they use in terms of how much it costs, or even if they have a bill. Because I really would like to specifically design the house on the amount of kilowatts they use every month. On your BG&E bill, there's a spot like up in the corner of maybe the first or the second page, where it'll give you a little historic perspective of how many kilowatts you've used every month for the course of the year. And if I can get that information from a potential client, I usually put it in the software, and then once the design comes up, the designer come up specifically catered to that particular home. So it's pretty easy. Pretty easy.
Well, that is interesting that you, because of the technology, it's not so tough. Being out here on your own. It'd be nice to get some leads from the big corporation, but you can make it happen on your own.
I can make it happen on my own. I remember when I first got into it. My background is in architecture and engineering. I've always had an interest in solar. Even when I was in college, that's over 30 years ago. I took a solar energy class in. But man, when I first started, you had to do your own designs too. Mm-hmm. And now, all I do is put the information in. I send it out to a design center, and they got hundreds of people just sitting there kicking out designs. And in about 20 minutes, it'll come back. It's done.
Wow, that's all right. That's all right.
Technology is beast, man.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Even what we're doing right now. As I mentioned, we can. I'm trying to encourage, and this week I certainly think I have encouraged some people from outside of the United States to link into the show, and that we can chew the fat about or talk about issues that are related either to what we're doing here in the United States or what they're doing in their own country. So that's all technology, and that we can kind of add in. Other kinds of things that'll help. We PowerPoint presentations, stuff like that people will see who are yet to come on the show. That we'll be adding those things and allowing people to work through them through the show. Because when we created this concept of the we is really about all of us, kind of coming together here and being a part of the news and promotion and finding out what happened and talking about what's happening in our lives and not just me. Or some guests just chewing the fat. That's why I'm hopeful that we can encourage more people to kind of go down to that top post who are watching us now on the We 123. Search the We 123 on Facebook. Come down to that top post and then just click on that and you'll pop up in the green room, as you've seen several people do today. You've seen at least 3 people do today, and come and join us. Derek, have you planned any other guests for your show? You got Donnie.
To be honest, that's why I wasn't watching football. I was working yesterday, man. I got Donnie set up for the 18th, this Thursday. The 25th, I got Mr. George Mitchell. They call George the mayor of Park Heights. Mm-hmm. And I got George coming on the 25th. We want to talk about his story. And his story, just to summarize it briefly, George took like the last 18 months to get this middle school that had closed around the corner from his house where he grew up in. Actually, George is a realtor, a businessman, an entrepreneur. He had run a Golden Corral, ran and operated a Golden Corral down in Prince George's County, done a lot of big things. But his mother was an advocate of Park Heights. I mean, to the standpoint where she actually had the street that they grew up on named after her.
Wow.
So George went back to the community. He saw things weren't going the way he thought they should go and were going when he grew up. Again, we'll probably address that subject matter as well. And he reached out and he galvanized the community to get this middle school, which is named after a historical poet, Langston Hughes, get Langston Hughes Middle School reopened. And he acquired the building. It took him like a year and a half, 18 months, almost 2 years. Baltimore City put together his proposal. He put together his program. Now it's open. Man, it is making great contributions to the city, to that community. George is doing a lot, man. So he's going to be a great guest.
That's great. Well, you might see up on the screen, Earl Bravo had a question, I guess going back to solar, when he was asking, is this recommended for multi-unit apartments?
No, unfortunately, not yet. But I see it probably transitioning to that. And the reason is not because you have to really control the individual square footage associated with that particular unit. And then the panels are designed and placed on the roof. And with the multi-unit apartment building, I don't think it'll be enough room on the roof to accommodate all the units within that particular building itself. Mm-hmm. Even though, don't let that stop them. It depends on the developer. I mean, because we do what's known as ground mounted system as well, where we can develop and construct a system that's mounted on the ground within 300 feet of the unit and 300 feet of the residence rather, and still provide solar panels for you. I've done that for a customer who's on about 2.5 acres, whose electric bill is about $750-800 a month. And we ended up putting up a ground-mounted unit with over 90 solar panels on it, and it reduced the cost of their particular electricity in half. Went down to like $320 a month, man. So great saving.
Yeah, how do you determine how many solar panels to put out there? Let's say you got a guy with 2.5 acres. You know, he's got a little bit of land. How do you determine the appropriate amount of panels to give a house?
Well, it's based on how many kilowatts you use. Yeah, it's a formula associated with the amount of kilowatts that you use. Let's over the course of a year, or even over the course of a month. Like I know I have them on my house. I've got like, and then it's based on what land you have available. But more majority is based on the amount of kilowatts you use on a monthly or yearly basis.
So your goal is to reduce the amount of your electrical bill to zero?
Well, it reduce it's called offset. Offset your electrical bill as much as possible, through the use of solar panels. I know that in my particular case, I had offset mine on my home from the months of May all the way through December, or through the middle of December, down to zero. So I was using all solar. The only thing I was paying for was my lease. You know, there's a couple ways to obtain them too. You lease the panels, or you can purchase the panels. And I wanted to lease the panels because the average individual, the average 10 kilowatt system, solar system costs about $30,000. And I mean, the average individual, I didn't have an extra $30,000 sitting around to pay on solar panels. So I opted out for the lease because I wanted the savings right away. And even if I did have the $30,000, I don't know if I would pay for them because, I'm just one of those guys. I don't know if I want to buy technology. Technology moves too fast, man. But the return of investment, and this is right up your line, Nate, to offset that $30,000 output, it'll take about 10 years in savings, so I just thought it best to lease the panels.
Well, that's interesting because you get less cash flow going out the door.
That's right.
Then you can put that money into an investment and make money on that money while you're saving on the other end.
Exactly. I'm trying to reach out to a few of my financial people for potential leads to give me a list of some of your clients that potentially might want to do solar, and then the money that I help them save, then I'll refer them to you, and you could use the same money to invest for them. That's money that they would have been given to BG&E anyway. Now they can take that little extra money and put in a monthly investment vehicle.
Yeah, we got a question out there from Plus Theron Jones. He's asking, can you really, truly reduce your electricity bill to zero with solar?
It depends on the orientation of your home. If you purchase it, yes, you could. Yes, you could. Depends on the orientation of your home. Orientation means a lot. Now, I reduced my kilowatts to zero, but the only thing I had to pay for, since I didn't purchase the system, was the cost of the lease. And I got 37 panels on my home. The cost to lease those panels was $112. And my average electric bill, my house is all electric. It's on heat pump. So my average electric bill, I was on what's known as budget billing. So my average electric bill was $360 a month. So now I'm only paying for months that I paid $112 versus the $360. Man, I'm ecstatic. I'm ecstatic. And actually, I'm looking forward to using that little extra money that we used to pay every month to invest in some things now.
Well, that's interesting. I know Plus is in the demolition business, among other businesses. So he's in the business of tearing down homes and tearing down things. So as they rebuild, maybe they should look more toward integrating solar as a part of the whole power, how they get their power to these businesses.
They really should. To me, it would be prudent for the city. They should make that a requirement, at least a certain percentage. Mm-hmm. You may not be able to do all of the homes or all of the buildings on a particular site, but you should have to do a certain percentage in the solar. It should be a requirement as far as I'm concerned, because it not only helps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Plus, there's a follow-up question. He says, "So if I spend $30,000 to buy the panels, I no longer have to deal with BG&E?"
No, you're always going to be connected to BG&E because they're your supplier. But it depends on your offset, how much you actually offset, how much you would have to deal with them. Because the whole process is called an interconnection agreement. You have to sign off on an interconnection agreement stating that, let's say, for instance, our company, if you use us, Sunrun Legacy Power can connect to the grid on your behalf. So you generate your energy directly on your roof to your home. You use all of that energy, but the reason you stay connected with BG&E is because if you generate more energy than what you actually use, BG&E still owns the grid. So that grid, that extra energy is conveyed back to the grid for you to use at a later date time.
Oh, so you actually build up energy reserves. I thought you were going to say BG&E had to buy it from you.
No, they haven't done that yet. But you know what they do? They're not going to buy it. They'll give you credit. They'll give you credit. Nobody's giving money back, cash money. Mm-hmm. But they'll give you kilowatt credits for you to use at a later date and time.
Mm-hmm. So if you generate more energy from the solar panels than you actually need in your house, it'll automatically go back to Baltimore Gas and Electric, and then they will accumulate whatever that is and offset it against a time where you might have to use them.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. Again, we're talking about local issues, but if there's some people who have a knowledge of this, different parts of the country are listening to what we have to say, please chime in. Please send us some comments, or those brave souls like Derek was this morning, who can go to that link on the top of the post of the page of the We 123. I can kind of put that out there one more time so you can kind of see where to go, because we had a number of people who reach us through other pages. But if you go to Facebook to the We 123, then you'll be able to join us and join Derek and I and just talking about issues and so on. Derek, when you talk to people like Plus who are in the commercial, how much of your business is commercial versus residential?
Well, you know what? I transitioned to Sunrun because of my ability to do commercial. I started out working with Solar City, and Solar City wanted to just have me refer commercial clients to them, and then they would give me a $500 referral fee. And I was like, honestly speaking, I wasn't born last night,
Mm-hmm.
So I had to transition to the next best thing, which was Sunrun Legacy Power. And they've grown to be the largest residential solar company in the country, but they do a great amount of commercial, and I interact with them on the commercial side a lot.
Mm-hmm. So you might do a commercial job where a commercial job might be $100,000 in putting up solar panels to heat a commercial building.
Exactly. I did. We did a proposal on a design for I don't want to put their name out there, but for a local funeral home that has a mausoleum. And their unit was going to cost over $100,000 cash up front, because at that level, you're not leasing, you have to purchase them. But over the period of the 15 years, they was going to save over $450,000.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we were going to do a ground-mounted system. A pretty huge system. Is going to be over, I think it was 130 panels. It was going to help them save close to $500,000, man. I mean, it's definitely viable. I mean, it's not going nowhere. Mm-hmm. the industry itself is only saturated about 2%. You know, and we're in 24 different states right now throughout the country and growing every day.
Yeah, I'm constantly hearing about people who are taking jobs in the solar industry. And I know as a veteran, you know, I've had to participate in some of the veteran conferences. And I always see a solar panel company there, you know, trying to do things like recruiting veterans. You know, but also, let me put up Pless's next question to you. It says here, an individual is not allowed to build out in order to store his own electricity.
Oh no. So he's speaking as if, you know, I'm gonna be this standalone guy. I'm gonna generate my own electricity. I'm not gonna be connected to the grid. Now it hasn't gotten that sophisticated yet. It hasn't gotten that. I mean, you generate your own electricity through use of the panels, but you still have to connect to the grid. You know, you don't generate your own grid yet. Even though we've used some scenarios, even then, you know, I was getting ready to refer to, you know, we went down, our company went down in Puerto Rico, get some people up and running, especially some water pumps, because they were run by electricity so that they could have drinking water. Our company went down to Puerto Rico, put some panels on and a lot of the existing fire houses, got those firehouses up and running. And we're allowing people to come get water from those firehouses through the use of solar without connecting to the grid. So it's implementation and use. I mean, I'm not going to say it's spur of the moment, but it's a lot quicker than traditional construction, where they still try to figure out how to complete that thing in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, you hear a lot about that. You know, I want to thank Gloria Gonez. I just got a notice through Facebook that she shared our video. She's sharing our show. And Gloria, please feel free to click on that link that is on the page, the we at the top of the post, and click on that link and join us and join our discussion. The things in Puerto Rico, though, are still kind of developing. You know, there have been so many people moving out of Puerto Rico and moving into Florida, as you might expect. That those that are left behind oftentimes are those people who simply can't do otherwise. I mean, I know that people proud to be Puerto Ricans, proud to be there, but because of the infrastructure, a lot of people are moving out, and those that are left are those who can't move out per se. But your company going down there and trying to make a difference and getting the power up is what we should be doing. And you know, I mentioned to Earl, and we were talking that there was a shortage of IV bags. And one of the places in this country, that Puerto Rico is a part of this country, that there's a real shortage is down in Puerto Rico. I didn't know if you knew that. So no. You need an IV bag, man. You need an IV bag. So I'm just happy to know that you guys are down there. Give me something else. What else can we chop it up about? I've got some subjects here that I can throw out at you.
Sure. Give me a shot.
Okay. Well, one of the things that we talked about was the cold. And here in the East Coast, the cold's a real issue. This morning when I woke up, I was sharing with some listeners earlier that when I got into my car, it had those little ice sprinkles on it. So I had to make the decision as to whether or not I would spend time kind of shaving it off my windshield, or if I just tough it out with my defroster, going down the road until I got to the Beltway, and hopefully it would have cleared it off. And that's of course what I did. I leave the house at 4 a.m. So I'm not looking to spend a whole lot of time out there de-icing. Where I live at, I'm looking around to make sure there are no raccoons and skunks and other things, crawling out there that don't expect me to be out. I'm not trying to run up on a skunk. I did that. Actually, I've done that a couple of times. Fortunately, I've never gotten squirted. But once I'll never forget it. I was in the military in Texas, when I was much younger. And there was this gigantic skunk. I was on guard duty, and I was coming early in the morning to spell the guy who was on guard duty take his place. And man, I'm just trying to get myself together so I can get to guard duty. And I come around this bush, and man, there was a skunk. He must have been this big. And that was his body. And that bad boy looked at me and I looked at him and I started running backwards. I'll never forget it. But so in the mornings, those kind of things stay with you, because skunks are out, other things are out. And, if I have to, if you come up on me, if you're an animal, you're going to get it. I'm from the city. I'm not going out on a fight. So, but I'd rather avoid it. I'd have got myself together. I'm ready to come in here. I'd rather avoid it. So I'm looking around in the morning. So by the time I get to my car, man, I really don't feel like standing out there while I'm looking, scraping ice. So, that was kind of my little situation. In the mornings, but I probably, and maybe I'll do that because I looked into some things we're going to bring up on the site, maybe the top de-icers, so I can kind of spray my windshield a little bit with a little de-icer fluid, maybe a better quality one than what I have, because I don't think I've changed it in years, and maybe that would have been.
You can actually, your windshield wiper cleaner, that's what I use. I put my car and my wife's car, I use, I don't mean to, hype this product, but I use this Rain-X. They got this winter cleaner that's good down to minus 25 degrees, to minus 25 degrees. So I put that in my window cleaner, and all I got to do is squirt my windows, and it melts it. It melts the ice.
Well, I need to invest in some of that. Maybe I'll do a little research and put that up on one of the sites for people to take a look at who are like me, who leave early in the mornings, and just. Don't want to be out there in the 15 degrees, which it was this morning, dealing with the ice and all, and maybe even because with the snow and all, your car's got all the salt on it and all. I'm not trying to get all salty before I get in here as well. Or nor am I trying to work up a sweat before I get to work. Dealing with the car. So, maybe that's right. Maybe I'll come back to you and see if we can find that product and some others, maybe put it up on the website so that people can do it who are going through what we're going through now. Now, my friends down in Florida, in southern part of the country, don't know what we're talking about. And I'm always joking with my friends down there about it. I have a good friend who just moved down to.
Wow, went off.
Back in. All righty. Yeah, I'm back in action.
You back. Yeah, you back.
Back with you. So we're always joking about how nice the weather is because he plays golf almost every day down there in Tampa because of the pleasant weather. As do other friends I have down there. He's always saying, Nate, you need to get down here. Yeah. Do you have very many friends who have moved down to the southern part of the country?
Yes. To be honest, that's my retirement
still with me,
bucket list item too.
Derek, it's funny. If you are still with me, if you can hear me now, I can't hear you again.
Okay, you know what? We might have to kick it back out again, Nate. Mm-hmm. Let me see.
Okay. Wow. We have this circumstance. Normally, do me this favor, Derek. I'm going to, take you down and then bring you back up.
I went back out and came back in. Can you hear me?
I did it. Did you do that or did I do that?
Yeah, I did that.
Okay, good. See, I know what to do then. When I can't hear a person, I'll just ask them to go out and come back in.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, but back to your comment and your question, I do have a few friends that relocated to Florida. And to be honest, that's my retirement bucket list item. I like to do that too, because I'm going to be honest, Nate, I'm tired of the snow, man. And I love playing golf.
So you're a golfer too?
Yes, sir. Got to play golf, man. And if you're in business, you got to play golf.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've just never adopted another sport per se after basketball. I used to think I'd play basketball my entire life. But of course, as I grew older, my knees told me a little differently. And put it on.
Yes, sir. I was right there with you, Nate. We was on those courts together. But I went ahead and bit the bullet, and I'm not forcing my body. What made me make that decision? I think about 10 years ago, I had to get a hip replacement. So my basketball run up and down that court days are done. Uh-huh. From all those years of running, I used to run about 3-4 miles every other day, man, just for personal conditioning. Mm-hmm. And I did a lot of running on asphalt and the street, and kind of wore my hip sock it out. But yeah, I transitioned to golf, man, because it's still a competitor. I still got a lot of competitor in me. I love this sport. I love being on different courses. Every course is different. Every hole is different. Golf, to me, and a lot of athletes, you will learn and understand. That's the hardest game in the world, man. That's the hardest game in the world.
Yeah. I used to think golfing was luck because, you kind of hit the ball in the air. You don't know if the wind is going to take it, and all those factors. And maybe the wind will take my ball, not your ball. But I have seen some golfers in my day who can call their shots. I'm going to hit it on that hill, it's going to roll down. I've seen golfers do that. And it's made me think that, in fact, golfing is more than just luck. I mean, there's a lot of skill to it.
Yeah, it's a lot of skill with golf, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was saying, you got courses all over the world. You got 18 different holes. You got 14 different clubs in your bag that you got to learn how to master and use effectively. Man, that's the hardest game. You never have a perfect lie to hit the ball. Like, you go to a driving range, they set you up on this flat surface, and you hitting these balls. Oh man, I'm killing it today. Then when you get out on a real course and you got the ball below your feet, you got to try to hit that. That's not the same as when it was when you was on that driving range.
Mm-hmm. Well, back in the day, we sponsored golf tournaments, and I sponsored one down in the Bahamas with Lee Elder. And
Wow.
Lee Elder was like our golf pro for the tournament that we sponsored. So the Chapman Company did a little tournament, and it was real nice, and a lot of people. In fact, that's when I first met, what's her name? Who, the actress from The Posse. You remember? She's still on a little bit now, and she was a golfer, and it kind of surprised me. What's her name? Oh, Donna. Her last name is Richardson. I want to say Sally Richardson. I don't know if you even remember her as an actress, but she was real hot back in the day. Still is. I mean, she's on a few shows, but she was an avid golfer. She was the female from The Posse. She's done a couple science fiction shows. Do you remember that movie, The Posse?
No, actually, I don't, to be honest. No.
Oh, man, that was a fantastic little Western movie. She was in it with Mario Van Peebles. So, what happened was Lee Elder was one of those guys who could do exactly what I mentioned. He'd say, well, Nate, I'm going to hit that ball. It's going to hit over there. You see where that tree is? It's going to hit there, and it's going to roll, and then proceed to do it.
That's why he was a pro. Because the pros can do that.
Yeah, and that really caused me to think about golf a lot differently because it's not so much whether you come out on a cold day. I guess you got to adjust your game to the air temperature versus a hot day where the ball will carry a little further. And what if my ball rolls down and hit a stick or something? It's just the luck of the game. And I used to think, well, there's too much luck involved in that. But now I see it differently. Yeah, I just see it kind of as a matter of time before I take up the game. Yeah, I have too many friends.
Got it. I'm sure you will. And then once you hit one of those balls correctly, that little vibration will go through your body. That'll be the only ball you remember. You would have hit about 120. Then you hit that one good. That's enough to get you coming back.
Yeah. But, I guess you and I, and to hear you say it, it gives me some hope because a lot of guys that I know who are golfers, I mean, a lot of them used to play physical contact sports. And I never thought I could kind of leave the physical contact aspect because that's when you're really competing. When you're up against another guy, he's like trying to stop you from going to the hoopers.
Yeah, you still competing. The thing about golf that a lot of people forget, you really not competing against the person you playing with. Mm-hmm. You compete against the golf course itself. Mm-hmm. Because the course has a certain amount of strokes. Let's say it might be a 72 stroke par course. So you're trying to get as close to that 72 as much as possible. But naturally, if you're playing with three other people, you got to force them. You're trying to beat them to be closest to that 72 as you can. But you're really competing against the course itself.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've got friends and they go away to these tournaments and they win these prizes for long ball or
the longest drive. Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm. And my friend down in Tampa, he has a little group he plays with all the time, and I guess they put some money into a little pot, and whatever group wins takes the pot, small money, right home about. But it's yeah, it's what they do to have fun. And so, but people want to win. And, I got another friend. He always talks about this one guy. He'll throw his clubs. He'll throw it into the lake and stuff. He just wants to win so badly. And usually they're not playing for any money at all.
Yeah, that's the one thing about golf. You know, I got my son playing. I got my daughter trying to play. On the business side, you know, it really reveals a lot of one's character.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know, you're not interacting with them. It's an individual game. You can see what type of temperament this person has. You can see what kind of character they have, especially on the standpoint of, okay, Jim, how many strokes you get on that hole? I'm trying to keep score. I know he got 8. He told me he got 6. I said, "Dang, man, he gonna cheat me on a golf course?"
Right.
You know, if I really want to do business with this guy,
That's right. You can cheat
you
on
know
that.
what I mean? So he gonna cheat me on the golf course? Wow, you know, it got me. I got to look at him side eye now.
Mm-hmm.
But and then another thing, realistically, Nate, you know, back in the day, you wasn't giving nobody 4 hours of your business day.
Right.
But if I got you on that golf course, I got you for 4 hours.
Uh-huh. Well, let me ask you: is there a difference in the quality of the club and the quality of the game? So, if two players go out in the court and one player has a club or a setup that costs a couple $1,000, and another person has a setup that costs $1,000, will there be a real difference in the game?
I don't think so. Because I'm sure there's a few pros out here that go out there that'll kill the average amateur golfer with a set of clubs right out the store that's not even fitted for them. You know, it's just based on your technique and your form and your follow through. It's just so much based on getting your body to swing the golf club correctly. The club itself, you know, help you fine tune it down the road. You know, you got clubs that are specifically designed, club length, club weight are specifically designed for a person's swing. You know, that's at the intermediate, that's at the higher level of golf. But for amateurs, man, you can start off by going to buy a set of clubs at a place like Play It Again Sports. You know?
Yeah. Well, I had a set of clubs as a part of that golf tournament I was telling you about with the last one we did down in the Bahamas, and I played so little, I just gave them away.
Wow. Yeah. But technology has affected the game itself. Having these titanium faces on these drivers, these guys are hitting the balls over 300, 350, 360 yards. The longest drive competition, they hitting the ball close to 400 yards, man.
Now, when they talk about Tiger and his being able to hit the long ball, is that the kind of ball he's hitting?
Oh, you mean the type of club he's using?
Oh, no, that 400-yard shot you're talking about.
No. Tiger's got. If you notice, Tiger has gotten bulkier, so he's not as flexible as he used to be when he was younger. Tiger looked like a strong safety in the NFL now, compared to when he was a child. Man, when he was 19 and 18, and he won the the Masters down there in Augusta. You know, he was a slim kid, more flexible. You know, didn't have any back problems. Now he's hitting the ball. He's not hitting it as long as the top 10 in the world anymore, but he's hitting it long enough. He's still hitting it over 300 yards.
Yeah, I guess accuracy is so much. You can hit it a long way, but if it ends up in the woods, you probably have hurt yourself.
Yeah, no doubt you have. You know, now you got to take another.
But you mentioned back problems. I do have a couple of my friends, and they do occasionally complain of a back problem from golf.
Yeah, well, I think that has a lot to do with people not stretching appropriately, not warming up appropriately. You know, the average individual will come out to a golf course and go from car to cart. Won't even go hit a bucket of balls to kind of warm themselves up. Won't even stretch. You know, won't get their muscles going and just jump on the course. That's when you're setting yourself up to fail in the game itself, and then fail your body. You know, once you pull something in your back, man, your back is a sensitive component of your body. You got to warm up. You got to warm up, but then you got to warm down. You should stretch after you play too.
See, that would be tough for me. You mentioned 4 hours to play and all that stretching before and after, and that's kind of tough. But given my schedule, I would have to figure out. I don't know how I would fit that in. 4 hours out of my day.
I don't.
Transportation time too, getting there.
Well, I don't use 4 hours all the time. 4 to 6 hours. My thing, I play 9 holes. That's the greatest thing in the world, man. Just go play 9 holes and go walk them. So I try to incorporate some healthy activity. I'll walk. I got a cart. I can put my clubs on a cart, push them up and down the hill, walk the 9 holes, get my little 3-mile walk in, 3.5-mile walk in, and I got some swings in at the same time. Mm-hmm. So,
where's our golfers? We want some golfers to join us out there. I know a lot of females are playing golf, so you come on and get
please, if you want to meet an up and coming professional or an existing professional, to me, women, y'all better learn how to play golf. The brothers is playing.
Mm-hmm. Well, they say it's a lot of females out there already.
It is.
A couple of buddies, and depending on where you go, and I would say females of all backgrounds, are out there, all racial groups, all ages, out there on the court. At least from what my buddies are telling me. I probably haven't set foot on a golf course in 20 years.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot more. Actually, I have a niece in college that's on a golf scholarship at Ohio State. She's playing. They originally lived here in Baltimore. Then my cousin relocated to Richmond, and she grew up in a country club. So that's how she learned how to play so well. And then what he did, he sent her to this school in Florida, Bradenton, Florida, called IMG. It's a sports-specific school, and they bring the kids down there. You do your school for 4 hours a day. Then the other 4 to 6 hours, you concentrate on your sport. They do golf, tennis, basketball, football. It's an organization that was originally started out and sponsored by Nike. I know Under Armour's down there. Man, it's an awesome facility. It's crazy. The world of sports is just blown up. I mean, they got these kids. It's like living in a college campus. But then they not only train high school kids such that they can get recruited for college teams. They train professionals. So you have a professional baseball player come down there. You have a professional football player come down there. They have college dorms set up. They have townhouses set up for families that want to spend some time with their kids while the kids are there. They have individual homes for pro athletes that come down and want to work out, and they can stay in the home and then go to the facility and work out. So it's just an awesome concept, man.
Yeah, it is. We grew up, playing ball. It was just pretty much you're on your own.
I look at these kids today. I mean, man, I wish we had everything y'all had when we was growing up.
And I remember, people know me from basketball, but even more, people were surprised. I used to play lacrosse, back in the day. And
that's a great sport, man.
Oh, yeah, I grew to love it. It was something I really wasn't very interested in to start with. I had a buddy, and he grew up where I grew up in Emerson Village in Baltimore, and so he was saying he went to Poly. Where I went to Baltimore Polytechnic Institute, and he said, "Well, Nate, I'm going to go out for a lacrosse team." And I said, "Man, lacrosse? Why do you want to do that? First of all, we don't even know the rules. Secondly, it's cold outside. Man. We're going to be playing outside in the cold. It's not like basketball where you're on the inside. We're going to be playing outside in the cold, and we might get hit by that ball, man, that hard ball, hit by that stick." He said, "Well, they go out with me. We go home together. We're going back to the village. We got to catch those buses." He said, "Go out with me. We'll have a little workout. A lot of guys going out, and we'll just go home together." And this is a buddy of mine I've known since I was 5 years old. So I said, "Okay, I'll go out with you." I made the team. He got cut.
Oh, that's terrible. That's terrible, man. How you make the team? What position was you playing?
I midfield. I faced off at midfield.
Wow, that means you could run. Yeah, you always could run, Nate.
Yeah, well, that basketball,
man.
Well, basketball being able to make those cuts,
Yeah, that's right.
The second that I even heard a little bit of You
It's
know,
terrible, man.
and I played. But the thing about it that I joke with him about, it was the same thing with wrestling because I wrestled in high school as well. I basketball,
Right,
wrestling,
right.
lacrosse. He said, Nate, let's go out for the wrestling team. And I said, man, wrestling. Nobody watches wrestling. Nobody comes to it.
Right.
You gotta go out there and run the track and all before you even start, man. He said, well, go out with me, man. And, we'll stay in shape and all. We'll get in shape. I made your team. He got cut.
How long was he your best friend, man?
He still is. He still is. I'm talking about. I know he doesn't have a Facebook page, so he's not hearing this. So, we've known each other since kindergarten. So
don't put him out there like that, man. That's
he's my boy. And so he said, "Okay, come on with me, we go out for the team with me." My boy. I said, "Okay, I'll go out with you. We gonna take the bus anyway." So the next thing I know, for the next 3 years, all I intended to do was play basketball.
Yeah,
that's all I intended to do, and I made that team. So that was it. And
he sounded like he ended up being your manager.
Well, the thing about it was, it made high school. I always say I have great sports memories, man. Great sports memories.
Right,
but it made high school a whole lot harder than what it had to be. I tell like my daughter was an athlete, my oldest daughter, second daughter, the athletes, and I said, well, just pick one sport. Because my experience, when I was taking those 2 buses it took to get from Poly back to Emerson Village, bus downtown and from downtown to the village. When I was taking those buses, he was home studying, eating dinner, watching TV, getting comfortable in the warm. I'm standing out there on a bus stop in weather like what we have right now. Trying to get home. So although I have great sports memories, and in lacrosse especially, I grew to love. And I remember I was taking my daughter to Georgetown, and it was one of the schools we were looking at, and the lacrosse team just happened to be out there playing, and I was watching those guys, and I was saying, boy, back in the day, I could do that.
Right.
As they say,
I got a frat brother of mine, Lance. They used to play lacrosse at Morgan. And now he's actually the lacrosse coach at Hampton University.
Okay.
We have a lacrosse team now. He started it like 2 years ago. They did a club team, and then the school adopted it and turned it into an NCAA sport.
Wow.
So we're one of the only HBCUs with a lacrosse team down at Hampton University.
Wow.
So I'm proud of Lance, man. I'm proud of him.
Lacrosse was such a different sport that it's one of those sports that once you get your stick, once I have my stick down, the ability to catch and throw the ball, pick it up off the ground and catch it and throw, and you lose your fear of the ball because that hard ball coming directly at your face, you got to know you can just put your stick up in front of it and catch it and spin it around and throw it back out again. Once you lose your fear, man, it's a fantastic sport.
Yeah, it's a fast game too, man.
It is. I've gone to a number of the University of Maryland games, and the same thing. I look at those guys and I think, back in the day, I could get out there with you.
Right.
But now I understand the game. It's kind of like basketball. Now I turn the volume down. I don't even listen to the sports analysis because I know the game, and And so I just look at them, and I'll say something, and the sportscaster might say something right behind it, observing the game. Lacrosse for me is kind of the same way.
Yeah. Lacrosse is a combination basketball and football. That's what makes it so great.
Yeah. Well, I've seen certainly people knocked out of lacrosse games the same way I've seen them knocked out of football games. Because you got yourself open, and that ball gets into close distance, anybody can hit you. So you got to be aware of catching the ball and avoiding those hits. And many a time, I've had to catch that ball and make a quick cut, and somebody else got hit, like another defender. I don't know if you remember. He may be watching. You remember Brown Pinckney? I don't know if you remember him. He was a big Poly player, went on to play football at Northwestern. He played lacrosse. He was big back in the day. I've seen him knock out a couple guys. I've seen him try to knock me out, because his eyes will light up. When you wide open, ball coming your way. His eyes will light up. But, we used to have a lot of fun on the court, a lot of us. Yeah, and we have a different little reunions, when a high school reunion, kind of a little subset, little lacrosse reunion. But I don't know, people across the country. I mean, we were speaking to a lot of people now, and I'm wondering if any of those people play lacrosse or sports want to come in and talk to us. You know, Derek and I are kind of chewing the fat. You know, we're getting close to the tail end. The other side, we'll be on the other side of 8:30 in the morning Eastern Standard Time, and we'll be closing this bad boy on out. You know, so I want to get some other folks in here with Derek and I, and inspire you to take that risk, to kind of click on that link that's on the top of my post page. Then I'll put it out there again for those of you who came in another way. Because, Derek, we got a lot of different pages that we broadcast out to. So not everybody came in through the we. So we want people to know that that's where you go. The Facebook at the we 123 without any spaces. Just do a search on that, and we should come up. And you can just join us in this two-way talk discussion, which is the format of our show, two-way talk. So we'll see if we get anybody, Derek, brave enough to join us out here. That like you and Donnie and Earl, who came in this morning. I'm still waiting for my first female to come on in the show. Well,
I'll tell you what, I got a female scheduled for my show on Thursday evening on February the 22nd. I got Miss Takima Dorsey coming in. Takima Dorsey, Dr. Dorsey rather. And speaking of non-traditional sports, she's an advocate of triathlon and training triathletes.
Oh, really?
So So I'm gonna have her come in. She's gonna speak about her program. She has an office actually at Langston Hughes Business and Community Center, where George Mitchell initiated. I spoke up earlier. So I'm looking forward to Ms. Dorsey participating and exposing the opportunities that are available to our youth in our community in the triathlete concept. Because, they're providing college scholarships for triathletes now.
I didn't know that. It's funny. I've done 2 triathlons in my time. And in fact, I did the Columbia Triathlon, which is one of the oldest in the country, twice. And it's one of those things where I always knew that I could bike. The way it works in an official Olympic triathlon is that you bike, you swim for a mile, you get out, you bike for 25 miles, and then you get off your bike and you run a 10K, 6.25 miles. And so I always felt I could bike 25 miles, no biggie. I could run 6.25 miles, no biggie. But that whole swim thing, I wasn't really a natural swimmer. Now, back when I trained swimming, when I was in high school, there was a part of a little swim class they had, and they really didn't train us very well, to be honest with you. So I used to think that swimming was about kicking across the water, and then I learned how to swim, and I did what I normally do. I take a course and I'll talk a little bit about it. And because I said I was going to do that Columbia Triathlon, where we swim actually, in the Centennial Lake, and then we come out of that lake. And
you actually swim in that lake?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Wow. We swim the circumference of the lake, and it's murky, no doubt about it. And we train. Yes, we train in the Chesapeake Bay. So I remember the first time, I had been training in swimming pools forever. I remember when I kind of built up, and when I discovered with me, it was when I was, of course, a little lighter weight and better shape, but I couldn't really. It seemed like I'd get to maybe about 8 laps and I would be exhausted. And a mile swim in a 25-meter pool is 36 laps.
Okay.
And a lap is defined as up and down as one time. So, I would. About 8 laps and I'm exhausted, and I'd see all of these people and they would be like swimming back and forth in the water and making it look all so easy. And I would just be and part of it was I was just so congested. I would ask the guy, you putting in too much chlorine or something, because I'm just so congested. And I discovered that I had a chlorine allergy.
Wow.
And I discovered it from I used to do when I trained for my first triathlon, I did it with a group called Team in Training, and we were raising money for leukemia and lymphoma. And when we were training, one day I was talking about how I would get so congested, and this woman heard me, and she would suffer from the same thing. She said, "You might have a chlorine allergy." And it never even crossed my mind that I could have something, because I don't have any other type of allergy, that I could have a chlorine allergy. And the longer I was in the water, the worse it got. I could barely breathe. Even when I got out of the water, it took a couple of hours for me to breathe normally. And so I went to a doctor, and he gave me the spray. And he said, before you go swimming, what you need to do is just spray the stuff. And that's what I did before I would swim. And man, I was just so clear in the water. It just 8 laps turned into 12 and so on. And man, before you know it, I was doing that 36. Up and down. And I could even go beyond. If I got in the water and I had something on my mind, I just swim. I might swim a couple of miles. So when one day, our first day, I'll never forget it. We went to swim in the open water in the Chesapeake Bay. And we went to this pier, and there was this buoy that was way out in the distance. It was like a half mile out there. And I could barely see it. And what we were supposed to do was to swim out into that buoy and come back. Man, I hadn't been so scared in a long time, because I'm thinking, first of all, everybody here is smaller than I am. I don't see a single person here that if I got into difficulty could control me. If I got scared, I'd take us both down. I'd drown us both. And so I thought about that. And then secondly, nobody intends to drown. I get out there in that water, man. And so I made myself last in line. There must have been 20 of us that were swimming that day. And they had gotten off the pier. Some of them had gone out, and they were all floating, treading water and wait. Hey, Nate, come on in. I said, oh, you guys go ahead. I'll get in. Oh, man, my legs were literally shaking. And then finally they said, okay, we're not leaving until you jump in. I'll never forget it. And so I jumped into the water. But I jumped in thinking that maybe I got a little bit away from the pier. And then I just turn around. If I felt any toughness to it at all, I'm turning around. And man, I got in that water and I started singing to myself, just swimming, and singing to myself. I had a little beat. And then I just swam, and then I look up and redirect myself to that buoy, and I stopped thinking about it, because the old saying is, once the water's over your head, there's no need to think about it anymore. It's over your head. You can't stand up. So you just keep going. I had trained so much, I wasn't tired at all. And my hand did like that. And I hit something, and it was the chain holding the buoy. I swam all the way out there. And man, I was so happy. I swam around that buoy, and I knew I had enough left in my tank that I could make it back. And that was kind of the beginning of my open water swimming. That I swam back, but from that point on, every time we train out in that open water, because that was the tough part for me. It's kind of once I got, and then the day of my first triathlon. I jumped in that water, and the same thing, you got people, they're really trying to win it, and they're splashing and all. I didn't want to be splashing. I try to breathe, and somebody's splashing some water in my face, and I'm out there choking, because again, people don't intend to drown. So, I got out there. I knew I could physically, I trained so hard, I knew physically I could make it. But I just didn't want anything extra to happen. Somebody kick my little goggles off or kick me in my face because they're swimming and they're trying to do their thing. So, I got in the water, man. I just slowly started swimming. A lot of them, they left me. I just swam and swam until I finished. And that was it. Once I got on the bike, that was no big deal. Jogging and running, that was no big deal. But yeah, at triathlon, man, it's a beast, though. Training for it. I make light of the biking and the all stuff, but even that. In Maryland, we also have what they call an Eagleman, which is twice an Olympic triathlon. And that's half of the Olympic, the true Olympic Ironman. So that's one of them things on my bucket list, to do an Ironman before I take the dirt bath. So an Ironman is a 2.5 mile open water swim. And you get off of that and you bike, I think it's 120 miles. And then you get off the bike and you run a marathon. You can do that. I don't have any tattoos, but if I complete one of those, I think I'm gonna put the Ironman tattoo on.
That's good. I know Miss Dorsey. She's created a a nice little following, a nice little club here in Baltimore with her triathletes. She even does. She uses triathlon training to train off-season athletes, like football players, baseball players. Putting them in the water, increasing their endurance. Increasing their leg work, their arm work. Man, she's gonna be an interesting talk. Dr. Takima Dorsey. She should be interesting.
I'm looking forward to listening to her because I still, once you've done something, you always believe in the back of your mind you can do it again. Then I've done a couple of triathlons. I've done a couple of marathons. So, I did the Marine Corps Marathon and the Baltimore Marathon. So, once you've done them, you believe you can always do them, even though that was well over 10 years ago. Well over 10 years ago.
That Baltimore Marathon is huge now.
Yeah, that was the same kind of thing. The first year I went out, I was just going to do the 10K because there was a 10K portion of it, which is a 6.25 mile run. And then one of my buddies, he was out there. I won't call his name. He said, he was going to run the marathon. And I said, man, if I'd known you were doing this, I'd have trained, to do it with you. And we said, well, next year this time, we're going to do it. We're going to meet here, train Nate. We're going to meet. So I called him and he's going to train to do the Baltimore Marathon. And I had trained hard. And again, I came in through team and training, which the good thing is raise money for charity. And you got a little group that you're training with. So you're not always on your own. And so I got there and he was there. And man, when the marathon started, and it starts with you running up a hill. And you think, man, I'm not trying to burn myself out right from the beginning. So, I'm jogging and I had a strategy. I said that, I'm going to put myself behind. First of all, my friend, when we started running, he just left. His pace was so much faster than mine. He just left. And, and I said, well, let me find the most attractive woman here. I'm going to run behind her.
That's your motivation.
Yeah, I'm going to stay behind her. The most attractive woman now. I'm thinking, first of all, I could maybe keep pace with a woman. And she left me. I said, let me find a guy here who looks like he's in like the worst shape. I'm gonna run behind him. And he left me. And, and then I said, forget it, man. I'm just going to do my little pace nonstop, my little run.
Right.
And man, I saw my friend maybe a couple times on the turns and I found out he didn't even complete the race. He got maybe about 10 miles into it and he stopped and took a cab back. I was wondering why I never saw him again. I'm still doing my little pace. And then I passed all these people. The woman who was very attractive, I passed her. The guy who looked like he was in terrible shape, I passed him. And it was just kind of a life metaphor that you just really got to run your own race.
Run your own race. There you go.
You got to run your own race, man. And I finished. I finished running my pace. And that was it.
That's right.
And the same thing with I learned about a Marine Corps Marathon. They had some really nice gear. Now, I still have my Baltimore Marathon cap and stuff, but they had some really nice gear in the Marine Corps Marathon. So I remember that. And let's say, take some of this weight, which is my challenge, to kind of take a little of this weight off. I certainly didn't help myself. I was telling the viewers that I started off my day, for breakfast this morning, I had like 2-day-old pizza. I'm kind of making it, trying to just grab a couple things, get in here and mic it real quick. But to kind of get my head right and who knows, get some time, because that stuff really does take time to train. Because usually you try to do 2 things a day. So I might run and then I go swimming. Or I might bike and then I to do a triathlon. Mm-hmm. It'll be interesting to see your guest, come on. Have you ever thought about doing one?
Nah, my running days is over, man. I'm not running that far no more.
Mm-hmm. How about biking?
I love to bike. I used to have a bike. I used to ride a bike. I got a good friend of mine. Matter of fact, I'm gonna see if I can get him on here. Brother named Rick Ridgely. You might know Rick.
Well, if I saw him.
He's in a biking group. They come through Randallstown all the time. There's about 25, 30 of them. Mm-hmm. Man, they ride that bike. They ride their bikes 25, 30 miles on a weekend, on Saturday mornings. Mm-hmm. They got a nice bike group.
Yeah. Well, I have this bike that has held me for now close to 30 years. About my daughter is, I think my oldest daughter is 27. And when the year she was born, I'll never forget it, because I went out to start my office in LA. So she was out there with me and my wife at that time. We were out there in LA. And so I was going to, before I went out there, I purchased this bike. And this is like 27 years ago. I purchased that bike, and this bike cost $1,500. And that was 27 years ago. So you imagine how expensive that was in my eyes to pay that much money for a bike.
Yeah.
It was this black Cannondale racer. And I promised myself that if I
They
paid,
still generate those.
yeah, they still make them, the exact same bike, but I have it in metal, and they now make it in the what is it, the plexiglass, the fiberglass, or something like that.
It might be titanium or something like that. Yeah, it'd be real light.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
a
because I
fiberglass.
went into the
Yeah,
biking
yeah.
store, and it's now like $4,000.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Same bike. You
Yeah.
know? And since I still roll with my old one, and it lasts. It lasted all these years, and I'm not trying to win the race. So,
Right.
I to put $4,000 in a bike, it was tough enough for me to put $1,500 in a bike, 27 years ago.
Right. I was looking for another bike myself in the fall. So I know you're speaking correctly. The bikes are expensive, man. I don't think I'll invest $4,000 on.
No. I'm going to keep my bike. I just have what they call, I get my bike tuned up, get the inner tubes changed. And if there's some wear on the tires, get it balanced and the handbrakes done. And I'm back in business because I know that bike will complete a race because it's completed many a race with me.
Right.
So it may not. It maybe I'm carrying a little extra weight. I don't know. If the bike was lighter, maybe it'd be a little less effort. I don't know. But
You got to put a little more air in those tires.
yeah, man. Yeah. And I got it set just right. I got the little thing where you can bend over the front, hold on.
Okay.
Yeah. So
There you go.
I got it just right for me. So it's going to be interesting to hear your guests talk about triathlons and stuff, because I really have very fond memories of that. Man.
Mm-hmm.
We're about to wrap this thing up. Our conversation, you helped me take this second week, first day home, man.
That's great, man. We had some great subject matter.
Yeah, man. Thank you for coming in, and thank you for letting me show the viewers that are out there that are watching this some of the technology you use, and even in the best of circumstances, sometimes things get dropped, you can't hear people, you got to bring them on. This technology is evolving, and we're making the investments here to be state of the art. So, in terms of being able to switch back and forth and all of that, even in being able to produce people. So I want to, if anybody's watching us, they see us out there, the Facebook, We123. Also, I want to make sure that people see my email address, because, this is, if you want to make contact with me and you're interested in doing your own show and you like someone to produce it and to help you get out there, we're happy to do that. And I would like to talk to you about how we can do that, because I just think this is such great technology. And and especially for business people. I remember back in the day when I was a young stockbroker, we had to call 100 people a day. Well, in these days with social media, you really don't have to do that. You can develop a following, link in other people's followings, and so in that way you don't have to do that to build a clientele. So I'd really like to see more and more people use this live way of bringing in clients and bringing in other people, because I think that's it's the now. It's not just the future.
Yeah, I got to get me one of those tripods. Nate, I got to talk to you about that.
Yeah. It makes life easier. You just throw your phone in there and let it roll. You position it like you want one time, and that's it. You got it there from that point on. We don't. I use as I use a higher level camera. We use everything around here from webcams to Mevos to all the rest of that. But and because we're producing some stuff, but a person doesn't necessarily have to. If you have that, then you can leverage what we have, which is what we want people to do. All you need to do is set up your camera and then leverage what we've got as far as infrastructure. So I'm hoping that people will reach out to me on my email who are looking to do more on live broadcasts, and how that works beyond that, all of what you do with the video, because we do a fair amount of video editing and all of that kind of stuff. And this is kind of a unique thing. We're going for 3 hours straight. So, which is the Facebook minimum, maximum, excuse me. That's where I'll look over and see what time it is. Cause when you're gone 3 hours, Facebook will cut you off. And so I don't want to be cut off. So Derek, I want to thank you for joining us today. I'm going to end this broadcast here and looking forward to tomorrow.
Can I do a shameless plug here?
Sure. Go ahead.
If anyone's interested in solar energy, please contact me. This number right here is Sunrun Legacy Power.
That's pretty clear.
You can contact me at this number. I think that's 443-985-0742, or my email address, derek.burnett@legacypower.com. I could generate a design for you. Won't cost you any money. It'll let you know whether or not your house is situated to obtain and benefit from the best benefits of solar energy.
And just a reminder, also, we'll be doing a Martin Luther King Day special starting at 12 noon today with famed civil rights attorney Levi Donald Watkins. And at 1, we'll have Dr. C. Vernon Gray, professor. And at 2, we'll have Donnie Glover coming in and just chewing the fat with us. So please come back and join us. There'll be a separate link sent out for anyone who'd like to kind of chime in and join us in the talk. So thank you all very much. Thank you, Derek, for being so brave to come in today, and looking forward to your show on Thursday. Thanks.